Today on Sports Weekend in Regina, a Brier semifinal with a couple of curling big shots. Ontario's R.Howard takes on the defending champion from Alberta, Kevin Martin, in a sudden death showdown. The winner advancing to meet Manitoba tomorrow for the Labatt's Brier crown. The downhill season winds up in BC. Karen Lee Gartner has the home crowd advantage, carrying momentum from a runner-up finish last week in Vail, and of course her gold medal at the Olympics in Albertville. While south of the border, Aspen, Colorado, downhill champion Franz Heinzer wraps up a career season. It's the final men's downhill of the year. Good afternoon, everyone, and good morning to our Western viewers. Welcome to the first of two curling and skiing shows here in Sports Weekend. Today, a 5-hour edition with the following timetable. We'll begin with a semifinal in curling from Regina. Follow that up with the Reed Report. Ken will talk with Golden Girl Karen Lee Gartner. Then we'll have the day's men's downhill from Aspen, Colorado, and at about 5 o'clock Eastern, that's in just under 4 hours from now, we will have the women's downhill featuring Karen Lee Gartner from Invermere, British Columbia. Just a program note, tomorrow we're on the air at 12:30 Eastern with the Brier final. Manitoba against today's winner. We'll go out to Panorama once again tomorrow afternoon for the women's Super G. We'll have live curling coverage coming up in just a couple of minutes. As usual, we'll keep you up to date on a very busy Saturday afternoon. But first of all, let's check in at Panorama. Here are Scott Oak and Curry Chapman.
Brian, we're into our second week of World Cup racing here at Panorama, and during that time, two things have remained constant: the weather and the course. The weather has been sunny and clear, and Curry, the course hard and fast. It should be again today for the women in the Labatt's Blue World Downhill.
Well, we have great weather here, and of course it's spring conditions. That means at night it freezes hard, it ices up, and it makes it very challenging, especially at the top part of this course. The women are going to have to ski with a lot of confidence and a lot of aggressiveness to ski well here.
One of the biggest stories in the past couple of days here at Panorama has been the homecoming of Canada's Olympic gold medalist, Karen Lee Gartner.
Well, she'd like nothing better than to win a race here at home, and also to prove that she is a true Olympic champion and can win not only at the Olympics, but here as well. So she's after a win today, and I think she has a good chance.
So it's Lee Gartner against the rest of the world later today in the Labatt's Blue World Downhill here at Panorama, and Curry and I will have the call of the race coming up on Sports Weekend. But right now, back to you, Brian.
All right, Scott Oak and Curry Chapman. Men's downhill, I'll call that race with Ken Reed. We'll follow it up with your race, fellas, from the women's downhill, Panorama, British Columbia. That's all coming up later on this afternoon. Curling in just a couple of minutes, but it's a busy weekend. One game in the NHL last night, a single game, a single goal. Kay Whitmore had the shutout. Bobby Hollick had the goal. Hartford defeated Winnipeg by a score of 1-0. There are 10 games on the schedule today, including one morning matchup in Philadelphia. That's right, it started at 11 a.m. Eastern because of a wives' carnival in the Spectrum. Let's take you to the second period of action. Washington and the Philadelphia Flyers. Mike Ridley for the Capitals. Here he gets goal number 24. Kelly Miller assisting. 3:15 shorthanded in the second period, beating Ron Hextall, and it is 1-0. Washington leading Philadelphia. About 1 hour from now, play will begin in Minnesota, where the North Stars will try and open a little more daylight between themselves and the Maple Leafs in the battle for the final playoff position in the Norris Division. Also today on Long Island, the Islanders will be attempting to keep their playoff hopes alive. They are 6 points behind Pittsburgh as they are home today to the Buffalo Sabres. Just a reminder, tonight on Molson's Hockey Night in Canada, Penguins travel here to Toronto to take on the Maple Leafs. It's a Pittsburgh day in Toronto with the Pirates in town. Montreal Canadiens in the running for first place overall will be at the Forum tonight. Montreal home to Coffey, Gretzky, and the Los Angeles Kings. The Nationals, the University Championships, are underway at the semifinal stage with the first game underway at Varsity Arena in Toronto. Laurier against Acadia. This is in the first period. Dwayne Dennis for the underdog, Acadia Axeman, midway through the first period. So it is Acadia leading the Laurier Golden Hawks by a score of 1-0. Just a reminder, at 4 p.m. today, that's in about 3 hours from now, the second semifinal pits defending champion Three Rivers against the Alberta Golden Hawks. The winners meet tomorrow afternoon for the national championship. Spring training continues today in Florida for the Expos at the Sky Dome for Toronto, who try for 2 in a row against the Pittsburgh Pirates under the Dome. The Blue Jays are now under the CBC Sports Dome after a 26-game deal was worked out with rights holder Bayton Broadcasting earlier this week. The first game is Friday night, June 5th here on CBC. CBC Sports also signing a one-year agreement with the Canadian Football League for 27 games, including 4 playoff games, the Grey Cup in Toronto, Thursday nights before Labor Day, and Sunday afternoons from September on will be the prime times for the CFL on CBC. In golf, Lisa Walters is challenging for the lead at the tournament in Tucson, Arizona. She is tied for second, 1 shot off the lead at 5 under. Beth Daniel is the leader. And on the men's tour, it's the Honda Classic in Florida. Raymond Floyd continuing on a roll at 49 years of age after winning last week at the Doral in Miami. He is a 1-shot lead after 2 rounds. Richard Zokol 5 shots off the lead. We'll keep you up to date during the afternoon. Today we continue our month of major curling coverage with a Brier. The men's championships from Regina. Alberta has taken the crown 3 of the last 4 years. They are still in there shooting. Kevin Martin's Avenir Rink, the defending champions, need to get past Russ Howard for the right to play Manitoba in the final that you'll see live at 12:30 Eastern tomorrow. To put it into perspective, live from Regina, here's Don Whitman.
Brian, 12 great teams have been shooting it out all week for a shot at this, the Labatt Brier Tankard. Now, only 3 remain. The last double winner was Alberta's Pat Ryan, 88 in Saskatoon and 89 in Chicoutimi when he was unbeatable, master of the takeout. Now Alberta is poised for the difficult double, and Kevin Martin's rink carries the torch. Last year in Hamilton, Martin finished second in the round robin. A semifinal win over BC put his rink in against Saskatchewan, and they rolled to Brier victory. A feat that put them on a 1-year roller coaster ride that came up short at both the World Championships and the Olympic Games. And brought them here to Regina, another run at the Brier. Their last round-robin game was against Manitoba on Friday. First place was on the line. In the 9th end, with the game in reach, luck intervened. And it was all bad for Alberta's second Dan Petrick. The ball burnt a rock, and any chance Martin had of finishing first. Martin's rink, like last year, will have to play their way into the final. Vic Peters won the game and the bye. Ontario took second, Alberta third. Martin would face Russ Howard.
It's becoming more of a reality now all of a sudden. Now that we're having to play Russ in the semis, Russ is tough. And he's going to put up a fight, and so are we now. Now that we got here, we're not going to give up easy. We just hope that sometime during the game, we'll have a shot for the win.
Kevin Martin would dearly love to repeat as Brier champion, and he's close, but he can't look that far ahead. 1987, Edmonton. Russ Howard had arrived. His Penetanguishene Curling Club rink won it all that year. Howard was on a roll. It carried him to Vancouver and the World Championships, and Russ didn't falter. That year, he took all of the hardware back home. Howard came to Regina with a new front end and favorite status. His season record was an awesome 51-4. As fate would have it, Russ Howard met Kevin Martin on the very first draw. And when it was all over, Ontario had a 3-1 win. And the edge that gave them second place, Howard beating Martin at his own takeout game. Russ Howard's rink has just come through a dream season. A Brier victory would make it perfect.
We've been the best team in the country all year. We're curling great. We throw the rock well. We're the only team that's really been in this position. Kevin's been that far, but he was almost handed the game in the last year's final. So we've proved ourselves before. Let's do it again.
For Howard, the present is the thing, and in a few minutes he'll begin his semifinal assault on the Brier. Welcome to Regina, Saskatchewan, the heartland where curling is king and the Labatt Brier Tankard is the grail. Today, it's semifinal action, Ontario against Alberta for a berth in the final. You are looking live at the Agridome, where the hottest ticket in town is for this match, which will decide who goes on to vie for Brier glory. Hi, everybody. I'm Don Whitman, along with 2-time Canadian and world champion Don Duguid. Don, an interesting matchup. The defending champion against a former champion. It should be a great match.
Well, it's going to be a great match. If you had to pick 2 teams to be in the semifinal, these would be the 2 teams because they curl unbelievable. I think our viewing fans are in for an exciting game of curling. The big advantage has already been established in the fact that Russ Howard has last rock, and that's a major, major advantage in this game. I look to Howard to maybe gamble early because Kevin Martin likes to come from behind, plays better the last 5 ends.
Well, Martin lost last rock advantage when he lost the very first game of the competition to Russ Howard by a score of 3-1. It was a low-scoring game to start the competition on Sunday. Do you look for a low-scoring game in this semifinal?
Well, it all depends on Russ Howard. He has the advantage of last rock. If he decides to go around the guards early, then I think we're in for an exciting game because, as I said earlier, Martin likes to come from behind. I think it'll be a close game for the first 5 ends and then something to really happen in the latter ends.
Well, this ice has been conducive to the come-around game. There is the potential to bury rocks, but first of all, you have to have those rocks in play out front. Joining us at ice level, the reigning Nova Scotia women's champion, Colleen Jones.
Thanks, Don. You Brier the corners, and it's coming in around the center guards. Draw waits just a little bit over 24 seconds. It's really good for Howard's kind of game, very aggressive the way he likes to come in around guards. He says he's going to go for his deuce early as soon as he sees the opening. Martin, on the other hand, of course, is going to try to hold Howard to that single point and get the advantage of last rock right back. But it was a great game between the two of them. The first time, with so much on the line, both teams...
So we're about set to start this semifinal battle between Alberta and Ontario. Last rock advantage belongs to Ontario, and that could be a big advantage. Don Bartlett leads things off for Alberta. This Alberta team, during a week of round-robin play, very much in contention, and as you saw on the final draw, Friday the 13th, by the way, the burned rock by Dan Petrick, leading to an eventual Manitoba win, and as a result, Vic Peters finished in first place. Alberta at 8-3, tying with Ontario for second, but because Ontario had the win in round-robin play, Russ Howard gets last rock. So the first stone comes to rest in front of the ring. Peter Corner, the lead for Ontario, attempts its removal, trying to roll the shooter out of play as well, and he'll succeed.
Donnie, in this particular sheet of ice, if you're playing from the outside in towards the center, the ice will run fairly straight. You'll see Kevin Martin holding the broom on the edge of the forefoot. Now that rock will, with draw weight, stay fairly straight and then curl at the very end. Conversely, if you're playing from the inside out to the edges, the rock really does some curling, like curls as much as 2.5, 3 feet. So as the pebble wears down, there'll be more swing to the ice into the corner. So we'll watch for that as the game progresses. But this has been gorgeous ice all week.
One of the interesting things the curlers were saying, that the sweepers can take a stone 8 to 10 feet basically on their own.
Yes. It is good brushing ice. You can take it, it's got such a hard surface to it, good brushes can take it a long, long way. And you see Martin played the outturn again, edge of the forefoot, and that's where that rock stops. So you know that it curls about 2.5 feet if you play the outturn because the brush was held on the edge of the forefoot. With takeouts, of course, the rock travels faster, the rock will stay straighter. Peeling is very important in this game, and if you throw good weight, the rocks will run very, very straight. So this is ideal curling ice. Whether you're ahead or down, you have a chance to get in the game. If you're ahead, you'll do a lot of peeling, so the ice will run fairly straight for you because you're throwing big weight. If you're drawing, it'll curl to the corners, so your chances of getting a couple of points in the corners is very good.
Peter Corner with the nose hit, and immediately Kevin Martin is hoping to take advantage from his second, Dan Petrick.
Always a problem the very first stand. You're kind of guessing at the weight. Although they've practiced on this sheet, they should know how it runs, but either he was a little bit light or a little bit inside the broom and it racked on that guard. But that's a good sign for our viewers, Don, and the spectators here at the Agridome, that this is going to be an exciting game. There could be a lot of rocks in play.
Wayne Midda, who throws second stones for Ontario, skipped his rink at the Canadian Junior Championships in 1987, the same year that Russ Howard won the Brier, and he was runner-up that year to Jim Sullivan of New Brunswick.
See, that rock is running very, very straight down there, trying to go through the opening. Gets a little bit of a break, drives their rock into the corner of the 12-foot. Remains shot rock. Now, we said to the sides, outside in, and this out turn will be thrown by Petrick, will actually from the outside in, will run very, very straight down there with any kind of weight. It goes bumper weight, it'll run very straight. Kevin Martin had the broom right in the center of the rock. It actually falls off a little bit. Now, viewers can see here, look at this. Makes a little bit of move at the end. Good hit.
A bit of a roll into the 8-foot circle. So Dan Petrick, who answered a lot of questions yesterday about that burned rock in the game against Manitoba, now trying to concentrate on the task at hand, the semifinal against Ontario.
Well, Dan showed a lot of class, Don. He fell on the rock. He was visibly upset, naturally, and nobody touched the rock. He just walked up and kicked it off the 4-foot himself.
Tight line. Tight line.
And that, a lot of courage, and he burnt the rock. He knew he burned it. He went and kicked it off. Look at this shot. You don't think this is going to be an exciting game?
That's a nice thing about ice like this. It swings so much. The curlers are willing to take chances.
This is a chance, however, that may backfire on Russ Howard as the stone slides through the 12-foot circle. And now Kevin Martin hopes to jump on this miscue.
Well, it's a bad miscue because at least if you're in front of the rock, they have to make a play on it, even if you're short of the rings. But through the house, it's of no value to Ontario at all. It's a real advantage for
14 and a half, 15 even.
For Kevin Martin, Don, because now he's got a chance to go around the center guards and lie too, and force the play in towards the center. And that's not where Howard wants to play because he has last rock. He'd like to play it wide open.
Yeah, give me a 14 and a half.
No, I'm
Sophie.
Now, when they refer to 14 and a half, that's their terminology for the running time of the rock.
Yeah, from hog line to hog line. Most people go from hog line to tee line. This particular Alberta team goes hog line to hog line. Because they know once it starts to curl and the bumpers are on it, they can take the
Hard! Quick! Real hard! Come on! Quick! Come on! Right back! Hurry! Quick!
Beautiful shot by Alberta third, Kevin Park.
Well, you heard him top of the 8th, but unfortunately it didn't vary as much as he liked it. But the thing that is really interesting, Kevin Park is in this game. He is yelling and yelling hard. So it could be a long afternoon for Russ and Glenn, Howard, Wayne Nadeau, and Peter Corner if this guy gets his game together.
Of course, Russ Howard can't yell as much because he's losing his voice as he does almost every Brier.
Wayne Nadeau and Peter Corner had an interesting story about the first time they curled with Russ Howard.
Wow.
They were accustomed to playing the skip and third positions on their own rink and in junior competition. And here's a miss by Glenn Howard.
Well, remember at the top of the show I said it runs any kind of weight in towards the center. It'll run very, very straight.
But further to what I was saying about the front end, they said the first time they curled with Russ, they jumped on a rock, and he was following it down the ice, yelling so hard that they started to laugh. And they couldn't continue their brushing. They looked back at Russ, and he was laughing because he realized what had happened.
More weight, I guess, eh?
screw up to that stuff.
I guess that converts to about a 14 and a quarter.
I didn't check every particular one, but
I did everything. All the spelling was right.
Can you be that precise? 14 and a half to 14 and a quarter.
Oh, yeah, it means a lot, boy. He's just trying to. He's got the edge of the 4-foot again, Don, and that's exactly where Martin held the broom on the very first rock at this end.
Tight! Tight!
You hear Park saying he was tight, so they have to go hard on it.
Real hard! Quick!
Oh, he's on the front.
Quick! Come on!
He's going to rub off the front, Don. Oh, there's a big break.
You're not going to get shot, that's all. No, that's a pretty dangerous rock there.
If I don't hit roll for shot, he's just going to go around again, isn't he?
Yeah, true.
Looks like will it go into there? Pretty tough, isn't it? Could freeze.
That's so dangerous, though.
Okay.
You can roll here, and he's
Same weight. My weight was pretty good, eh?
Yeah, wherever you want to go, though, like here.
Yeah, no more.
Glenn Howard, the Ontario third, the younger brother of Skip Russ.
Well, what he's looking for, Don, he wants to come down here, hit this rock, and maybe get a little action on a shooter into this area here. He may not end up with shot rock, but the thing is that if he gets a roll, he'll force the play over in that area, and maybe Alberta will drive it on that back one. And that's why he's playing the top one as opposed to coming around the corner guard.
Hard! 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 Hurry hard!
Oh, he's soft. I mean, he's very quiet.
Will they get it past that red rock out front?
Oh, he's past. They're working on the roll now.
Alberta is left lying one. Second shot belongs to Ontario. The stone just delivered by Glenn Howard.
That's about the kind of takeout weight we've seen from a lot of the players this week. Just very quiet weight, because with any kind of weight, it floats back like his first one. He might have wanted to throw that one a little bit harder to get the roll, though.
Well, I think he was a little afraid with that one, especially after his first one. When he threw it, he had pretty good weight on it and drifted all the way on him. So he just overcompensated a bit by bringing his weight down a bit, and it cut a little bit more than he thought. So the first one had a big bearing on how he threw that second one.
Interesting where Martin has positioned the broom for this takeout. Right on the stone.
Well, it'll stay straight.
Hard! Well, hurry, it's got something. Real hard!
He threw it to the side, and you heard him, he said it caught something.
He's going to wreck out front.
Hurry, every inch.
Oh, it looked like that rock picked up something, Don. Right away, they started sweeping it, because it shouldn't really curl that much.
He felt it picked right away. In one game, Russ Howard lost 4 rocks to Gremlins.
When's it going to move, though? He just slid in, Kevin.
Yeah. This is dicey, too, though, the shooter. Actually, even if you nose it.
Yeah, like...
Yeah, let's do this then. Still intern.
It's hard to know when he's going to take the mover. Like, Pete's are going like crazy when he's moving it.
Yeah, I think that's too much. In here, it's going to go all day. You won't even be close. You can split it. You can hit it. As long as you don't bend too far, that's the worst thing. We can hit it on the high side and roll for the split. You can hit it dead on.
It's tough to hit it here, though.
Yeah, I know. But let's play the nose then. We can bump it into there. It's perfect. He plays the double and never jams it. What are you thinking? I think you need at least that. I do. I don't know if that's enough, Russ. Yeah, that's good.
All right.
That's good. That's good.
Okay, what they're looking at, their big problem, of course, is deciding how much ice to play because they've never played that turn. But what Russ is trying to do is come down here, maybe move this one into this area here, and hopefully roll his shooter over here. I don't know whether he can lie 2 by making the split. His big concern, of course, is raising that one behind the 2 corner guards and ending up shot rock. And that's very important. He has to end up shot rock.
This is one of those rocks with many options, though.
Oh, this one is really snapping. Now it's starting to go.
Well, hard. Heavy. Hard.
Well, they should have maybe kept on that one, Don, because it really curled across the face of it, and it pushed it a little bit into the open, so Martin's got a shot at it.
Perfect. Never stop yelling.
Neither did I.
As Russ said, he was yelling at them all the way to sweep the stone. They eased off.
Now, that was a good indication of how much it curls that area. And that's a problem for Martin right now.
I was looking for Merkley, the Ontario 5th. Okay. Merkley, the Ontario 5th.
Once it hits the line, it's going to go.
This is a tough shot for Kevin Martin, Don, because he saw how Russ Howard's rock reacted. Like it really took off on him. Martin is just trying to establish in his own mind how much weight he has to throw to hold it enough to get by the guard and make contact. I don't know whether he can hold his shooter. His weight has to be absolutely perfect. Has to break at the very end.
Real hard. Whoa. Clean. Clean.
I'm yelling clean. He's got lots of weight.
Clean it. Clean it. Yes. Come on. Roll the other way. Come on. Right over. Right over. Hurry. Hurry.
Ah, beautiful curling shot.
Don Bartlett in the ring stayed with that stone all the way. And Alberta now lies 2.
Edge of the floor, perfect. Can run right to the nail.
Make it. Nice shot, Kevin.
You hear Russ Howard saying to Kevin Martin, good shot. And he's right, it was a great shot. Now for armchair curlers, they might say, well, why doesn't he just come down here and into this area? He's got this rock for backing. But Russ Howard, being the pro that he is, has played the in-turn draw, and that's exactly what he's going to play. He knows the weight, and he's going to come into the fat part of the ring, Don. And that's why he's playing the in-turn as opposed to the out-turn with backing.
Clean. Ball.
You always hate to have to hit the forefoot with your last rock, though, in the first end.
Well, it's certainly taken the hammer out of Russ Howard's hands.
Well, that was exactly Martin's game plan. Force him to one and go after his deuce.
But a great draw under pressure, right to the button by Russ Howard. So with the final stone of the first end, facing 2 Alberta rocks, Russ Howard, the 1987 Brier and world champion, draws to the button for a single point.
The Labatt Brier on Sports Weekend. Brought to you by Labatt's Blue and Labatt's Light. And by Mazda. It just feels right.
Listen, I left my keys inside. Can I go get them? I leave my wallet? Oh, thanks. My girlfriend left her keys. Can I run give them to her? Go. Thanks. Thanks. Thanks.
Labatt's Blue.
Hey! Any trouble getting in?
Now you're laughing.
I like the atmosphere of the Bank of Montreal. It suits my temperament. Well, I usually look around to see if she's around when I go into the bank. And, of course, if she's there, I go over if she's not busy. But, as well as being knowledgeable, she's helpful. And I think your bank manager is tops.
On June 23rd, 1991, Mazda defeated Jaguar, Porsche, and Mercedes to win the world's most prestigious 24-hour endurance race, Le Mans. But Le Mans wasn't won in a day. It took years of tireless research, innovation, and commitment. It's the way we build racing cars. But more importantly, it's the way we build every Mazda.
On the inside.
In '87 in Edmonton, Russ Howard reached the highest rung on the ladder. He won the Brier Tankard, won the World Championships, and won the hearts of fans all across Canada. This year has been almost perfect, and expectations are high.
You had a lot of people say, some pressure on you because you've done so well in the Gold Trail, and everybody expects you to win the Brier, and the pressure's on the guy that didn't win any money, and we won 100 grand, so we've proved ourselves already, and we've done well this week so far, so it's, I don't think there's any extra pressure there at all.
2 years ago, Russ Howard pondered retirement. He'd lost his intensity, and the game lost its most important element, fun. So he and brother Glenn rebuilt the front end of their rink.
Can you act now?
They added lead Peter Corner and second Wayne Midda to the mix, a move that paid dividends and rekindled the competitive fires.
Well, I want it just as bad. It's just I think it's in every curler's blood. Just the ultimate goal is to win the Brier, and then of course the World Championship. And I don't think it matters if you won it 4 or 5 times. If you ask Ernie Richardson right now, I'm sure he'd just like to win his 5th. But it makes no real difference that it's our 2nd. It would be really fabulous to win for Wayne and Peter. Russ and I have won it, but those 2 guys have curled so well all year, and the last 2 years, I just love to see them with their hands on the cup.
For that to happen, a team needs to be focused and relaxed. The Howard rink epitomizes both states. They are having fun and curling beautifully, and Russ is realistic.
We'd be disappointed if we don't get to the final. The final's what it's all about, and anything can happen. Any team out here can beat you. We played Teddy McFadden, he curled 99% against us, so we know both sides of the coin. We've been through both sides. We've lost the semi before. We've won the semi. We've won the final. We've lost the final. So I think we're going to wake up in the morning one way or the other. But when you're this close, you can smell it, then you really want to win.
A great season under their belt. Howard's rink looks to one more outstanding performance and a shot at the title.
Russ Howard leading 1-0, playing the second end. 1 stone in the rings. That's sitting at the top of the 4-foot. That's a Howard rock. His parents watching the action here at the Agridome in Regina. They've had tremendous attendance for each and every draw during the week-long competition. Spectators from all parts of Canada, some from Europe and the United States as well, taking in a fine week of Brier curling activity.
This whole end started, Don. Russ Howard put it in the 4-foot, the rock that you see in the 4-foot. Kevin Martin threw up a corner guard. Russ Howard ran the first corner guard. Martin put up another corner guard, and then Russ Howard decided to guard, and the last 2 rocks have been guards. And now Kevin Martin is running off the guard.
These guys will go hard after each other until one of them has a 2-point lead, and then the defense will start.
That's exactly right, Colleen. It all depends who gets the first 2 points, or 2 ahead. Then you'll see some different strategies by both sides.
One thing spectators at the Agridome have noticed during the week is that for the first time, there are only 4 sheets of Brier ice in use. In contrast to last year at Copps Coliseum in Hamilton, where they had 6 sheets of Brier ice. Of course, the Coliseum in Hamilton could accommodate 6 sheets. Here, they could have squeezed a 5th sheet in, but it would have presented some difficulties with the draw. So as a result, officials opted for 4 sheets.
I like the 4-sheet concept, Don. It's, there is the odd morning game, but let me tell you, when you get good curling, I could sit and watch it all day, and I do watch it all day. I'm here first draw in the morning, and I thoroughly enjoy every game. There's one thing about curling. If there's 4 sheets of ice, one game is bad, the other game may be good. You can watch all of them. Hockey game, if you get a bad hockey game, it's a bad hockey game. But this, and I enjoy every minute. These guys can make those rocks sing.
Well, those 9 o'clock in the morning games are a killer sometime because there are so many functions for the curlers to attend. But when the action's good, I guess you don't mind.
Well, when you go back to 5-sheet Brier draws, you always had 3 mornings with a split draw, only 2 games being played. So the spectators were being jobbed a little when they showed up for a morning draw with only 2 games in progress. Anyway, it has produced some comment during the course of the week. But they may opt to remain with the 4-sheet draw in future years as well. A nose hit driving the Ontario guard back onto the Ontario shot rock. Ontario continues to lie 1, sitting at the top of the 4.
Hard break for Kevin Park. If you're not going to clear the front there, you at least want to take rid of that back one that's on the 4-foot, and he managed to keep a guard up and the rock in the 4-foot.
That's the unfortunate thing. If you drive it straight back, you either hopefully make the double or at least get rid of the front one, and they got neither of either there, and it's a bad break for
you want to go long
Alberta.
or short? I like whatever you want. Yeah, long.
Now you hear Russ Howard yelling down to Glenn, do you like it long or short? Sometimes the only time you guard a guard, either long or short. I kind of prefer it a little tighter to the rings. But Russ likes it maybe just over the hog line slightly to guard the other guard.
Want to guard the yellow?
Interesting sometimes when you don't expect to be in this situation, like Howard fully expected Kevin Park to make that peel, and then
Mine's good.
when you've got an option of putting a second guard up, sometimes you don't quite know where to put it.
A lot of weight, Wayne.
Well, the reason for I don't like long guards is if you leave it too long and you don't cover it perfectly, there's more room for the other team to go around him. And that, you know, a tighter guard, it's a little tougher to come around him. That's why I don't like long guards. Now, here's the same shot for Park. He's got a double raise back. There it is.
Oh, late.
I'm not
throwing it really late. That's moving really well.
Well, your hair square on that one. I didn't want to line them up like this.
Well, I wanted to, I wanted to.
We had a hair more ice.
That was, I thought it was wetter than the first one.
Well, maybe because it was later.
You heard Russ Howard say to Glenn that he didn't want to line them up, and that's exactly right. If they're staggered, then you have the throwing rock, you have to hit it at a bad angle to make the raise back for the one in the forefoot.
Same weight.
When they're lined up this way, it's just simply a nose hit, and you drive them both back, one onto the other, and hopefully make contact with that one in the forefoot. So you want a little bit of stagger to the guards.
Kevin Park would like the same result he had with his previous delivery on this end.
Tell you what, don't be surprised if he doesn't make this one.
1-2, and he slides it past the shot stone, but he does open up the front.
Well, that's a good shot because he has opened up the front. Not only that, he's got a little bit of a corner guard, so for Howard here, he's going to play a guard, and if he doesn't get it perfect and doesn't guard the high side of that rock, or the left-hand side, as we're looking at it, there's room for Kevin Martin to hit and roll behind those corner guards.
This is the fourth time these two rinks have met in competition this year. The opening draw at the Brier on Sunday, and Ontario has won all three previous meetings.
And, you know, that's got to give Ontario a little bit of confidence. I know anything can happen in a sudden death game, but if you look at just the end of the round robin here,
Line's good. Bending
Ontario's won 6 of their last 7 games, whereas Martin in his last 4 games lost 2 of them and just barely won the other 2. So for momentum, it's got to go to Ontario.
Good point, Colleen.
This rock is pulling over a little bit too much. Remember what I said? You had to guard the high side of it. Well, now there's lots of room for Kevin Martin to hit and roll behind the guards on the left-hand side.
I thought, good. Well, maybe hair type.
Russ said he threw it pretty good, but it just seemed to cut a bit more than the other one. So now there's lots of room. And there you see the long guard. The one in the house is almost biting the line in the center, and you can see there's a good 8-10 inches. The guard is off that center line, so there's lots of room. He wants to roll to the left-hand side. Change the shot for Russ Howard.
Hurry! Hurry, it's really moving.
Come on!
Hard!
Oh, he's going to rub the front one. And that one moved pretty good, so they're a little bit fooled by that spot in the ice.
I think on the first 2 ends, Kevin has been fooled a couple of times, and so has Russ by the amount of movement from the stones. Perhaps a little more than they expected.
So where do we want? Right about here?
Yeah. Just bite the line?
Yeah.
That's exactly right, Glenn. Bite the line. That's great. Now, does he take more ice?
Just bite the line, so.
How wide can I go before
You were there, and I think it just jumped on you, Russ. You want to go a little bit more?
Of course, the danger of taking a little bit more ice on the slab will run very, very straight and leave it open.
And
Take it in if you have to. Half berry's not bad.
If Russ can get this right on center line, it makes Kevin's draw to the forefoot
What do you like, Wayne?
hard because he's got to take so much more ice to get to the forefoot.
Oh, yeah, he would like to pull the rock.
Too much wider.
What do you think? Think I can go wider?
They know if they take an inch more ice there, it'll hang on them.
Well, that's what they're afraid of, Colleen.
Well, a lot of room this time.
You heard Glenn say you want to bite the line.
Clean.
And that's the center line. Look at it, starting to move.
Wow. Easy. Wow. Where is it? Clean. Clean. Clean, clean, clean. Ball right off, right off. Yep, yep, yep. Yeah.
Might as well bring it in because I don't think it's going to guard.
Hooray!
No, betwixt between.
Again, perhaps a little more movement than he anticipated, the same as Kevin Martin's stone, the first stone of this second end.
Well, it's really walking over at the end. You can see he was at the other side of center. Looked like it was going to guard, but as the rock is dying naturally, it's going to do more curling, and that one really come off the line. Now for Kevin Martin, of course, he's got to think back to his first rock and say, well, look, should I throw a little bit more weight or just take a little bit more ice? He throws more weight on it, it's liable to run straight on him. He would like to pick this one out of here, of course, and blank it. He's got lots of room. The danger for him is that if he just touches that front one, he may put it in the rings and leave Howard with two. So he has to keep his weight up. There you see. And for Howard, you know, Don, it wasn't guarding it, so they wanted to bring that rock into the ring, at least be lying two, and force Howard, or force Kevin Martin to hit some stick for one.
Off it. Off!
Well, he's throwing a ton of weight here.
He catches enough of it to remove it, and the shooter rolls out. So Kevin Martin, with last rock advantage, is able to blank end number 2. And after 2 ends of play in this Labatt-Brier semifinal, it's Ontario 1, Alberta nothing.
Labatt's Light takes a refreshing look at the block party. There are large block parties. And then there are small block parties. But what's a block party without a party animal? Then there's the taste of a Labatt's Light. Right out of the ice. Now that's refreshing.
Kleenex Ultra Tissue with lotion, so it feels soft and soothing on even the sorest nose.
Come on, come on.
Kleenex Ultra, softer because it has lotion.
For spring wheat, only one product does it all. Triumph Plus. In one pass, it controls wild oats and green foxtail with the widest window of application, from the 1 to 6 leaf stage, up to emergence of the 3rd tiller. Plus over 30 broadleaf weeds. Ask your neighbors who've used it. The results have been overwhelming. Triumph Plus from Hearst. Wow.
Prolognon, France, the Olympic Games. Kevin Martin carried dreams of gold, but found himself playing for bronze. Bad ice, bad rocks, bad luck. Martin finished 4th in a year that began in hope, wound up in disappointment.
It was just a crapshoot. You know, we're quite upset that we didn't get a medal, but taking into account the conditions and the way the athletes, or just everything, there was no way of guaranteeing a medal of any kind to anybody. And it ended up we didn't get one, and that's the way it goes.
And it hasn't gone that well. Since winning last year's Brier, Martin's rink has failed in the big ones. They lost the world title to Scotland amidst the great corn broom controversy and tasted disappointment in France. Regina offers redemption.
Trying to go through zones and northerns, provincials, then all of a sudden, oh, free guard zone Olympics, and then from the Olympics to the Brier and everything. It's quite a drain, but it's a year that I don't think anybody's ever had, and it'll be a while before anybody has a year like this again. It's just been crazy for busy, but also very enjoyable.
Not as enjoyable as the prospect of consecutive Brier victories. It will take great shot making, steel nerves, and maybe just a bit of luck.
I don't know. It'd be quite a pat on the back for all the hard work. It doesn't put a lot in your pocket, though, because really, like, it's nice to win the Brier. What's the greatest thing there is in curling is to, get that tankard in your hand. But back-to-back would be something pretty special, and we'll try our best.
For Kevin Martin and his Avonare rink, the goal is clear. Double Brier glory and a place in the history books.
I think we got second.
Yes, back-to-back would be very special for Kevin Martin, but at the moment he has a major obstacle ahead of him in the person of Russ Howard. And there is Shauna Martin. She is an interested spectator this afternoon, as she has been, and Shauna and Kevin are expecting an addition to the family, a brother or a sister for 2-year-old Carrick sometime in the fall.
On this end is played exactly the same way as the second end. Howard put it in the 4-foot. Martin put up a corner guard on the right-hand side as our viewers are looking at it. Howard ran it off. Martin threw up a corner guard on the other side, and Russ Howard decided to guard, and he's continuing with this format. And he is trying to steal a point so he can get that margin of 2 points up on Alberta. And, of course, Martin's trying to score 2 and take control of this game. So this is kind of a little bit of a cat and mouse affair, but some really precision shots, some problems reading ice, and you saw the last hit that Martin played to pick that one out of there. Like, he threw just a ton of weight, and you know, to me that can really confuse you a lot. I mean, you're throwing maybe a nice normal bumper weight to play a takeout, and then all of a sudden you're upping your weight where it's almost a runner. That really confuses you when it comes down to trying to pick one out quietly.
Well, Dan Petrick at second stone for Alberta has devoted the entire year to curling. He got his Bachelor of Commerce degree from the University of Alberta. He said, while some students, after they get their degree, spend a year traveling, he has devoted the year to curling. And it's been a rather rewarding year with success on the Cashspiel circuit, a trip to the World Championships, and, of course, the trip to the Olympic Games in France.
Well, he's really the catalyst. If Dan Petrick plays a solid game, 85, 90%, there's a good chance Alberta's going to win. And Wayne Middaugh is aware of that, and he's actually playing against Dan Petrick. If he can out-curl him, he knows that his Ontario team stands a good chance of winning. Now, I think it's a saw-off between Park and Glenn Howard and Russ Howard and Kevin Martin. So the catalyst on these two teams are the two people playing second.
Glenn Howard, in percentages, the leading third during the week. He made 84% of his shots.
At the end. Hurry! Right up! Hurry!
And he guards the shot stone. Ontario lying 1 behind cover. Full house at the Agridome in Regina. Attendance to this semifinal draw, 108,166 spectators. The Brier attendance record was established in 1989 in Saskatoon when 151,000 people showed up at Saskatchewan Place to watch the week of curling activity.
Well, Saskatchewan for years, a lot of people show up to watch curling. They've been in many successes in Saskatchewan. They're very knowledgeable curling fans. There's nothing out on the ice that they don't know about what's going on. I mean, they've been a little bit spoiled with the Richardsons and the Pickerings and the Manns and the Heberts and all of them, and they've enjoyed this week immensely.
Well, I think everybody in the province curls.
Here's a pretty good shot. It's going to work out all right for Alberta.
He rubbed off the Ontario stone out front, but caromed onto his own and moved that guard into the rings for a second shot.
Yeah, okay.
And even if Glenn makes a great hit and roll here, Alberta still has the opportunity to hit and roll on the 1 and the 4-foot.
Well, that's right, Pauline. If Glenn hits and gets a good roll here. Okay.
I think that ice should be all right.
Ontario's looking to come down here, Don, and hit and get a little bit of action on her shooter and roll into that area there. But this still leaves this one here for Alberta to kind of hit and roll in behind their own corner guard.
For that weight.
So it's kind of a no-win situation
a little heavy
for Ontario. Even if they stay right there, Alberta's going to play that one on the button.
You wouldn't give any thought at all to guarding the shot stone.
No. Not as long as there's second shot in there. Not this early.
Just a slight roll, not as much as they had hoped for.
And Kevin Parks already picked his shot out. He walked right over just as the other rock made contact. So they were just going to hit and roll.
I think right about here should be the ice. What do you think? I like that.
Yeah, once it hits the line.
Once it's the line, it'll go. Yeah.
Okay, there's a good remark. Once it hits the line, it'll start to curl. Outside the center line, it'll run very, very straight for a long time. But once it hits that line, that center line running down the center of the sheet, it'll start to curl.
Gotta get the flop.
You know, the rock will do all its breaking or finishing at the end. So Kevin Martin wants him to play nice, quiet weight, tap it back, and roll to the inside behind the corner guards.
He's really got an option of 3 rocks to roll behind, too.
This particular shot here is conducive to scoring 2 points if he makes it.
Stay close.
Now we'll see. Now you see, he's got a lot of rotation on that rock. Now it's starting to move. Now it's on the line.
Hurry! Wow! Hurry! Hurry! Whoa! Whoa! Hurry! Hurry! Whoa! 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 Whoa!
That's exactly where they wanted it.
Just an absolutely gorgeous shot. And that is well executed. That's right in the mayor's office, that one.
This is good. Nice shot.
It rolled well behind the guard, so if Russ comes down and try to corner freeze it, he's got a long way to go. So Russ Howard is simply going to play the straight draw around that guard, Don, hoping to catch a piece of the forefoot.
Keep it high.
You heard Russ Howard said, keep it high, Don. And what he means by that, keep it in front of the tee line, but make sure that it's shot. Because if it's shot, Kevin Martin's got to play it, and there's a chance he could drive it onto that one in the back of the forefoot.
That far?
There's no sense in settling beside it.
Will it bend enough to hide behind that guard?
Oh, it'll come at the end. You saw that takeout move very rapidly at the end.
High! High the line! High! High! Wow! 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 Whoa!
Look at this. Look at this walk over there. Now, is that a perfect curling shot or what? That's unbelievable. Like you could pick it up, walk down in your pocket, drop it there. That is the perfect spot.
Well, the hair tight, we had to sweep it.
Yeah.
Tell the thing is, you can do that.
Yeah.
So if you come across the top and roll in for the third shot,
It's not.
decision to make.
Well, he'll hit it. He'll be laying 3.
He'll hit what?
Well, if we come across the top.
And roll in for the third shot.
Oh, with the shooter. Okay, gotcha. I thought you meant the 5-stone hitting a little pin. I don't think we'll miss it by that much, though.
Huh?
I think straight back is the answer.
Kind of weak.
A good solid hack. If we can hit it here. In the nose, roll here.
Right on the nose or a little on the center line side?
Right there with hack should be very close.
Nose hit pretty well, does it?
Right on the nose.
Because Russ's draw wound up above the tee line, this is really the only shot Kevin Martin has is the straight back raise.
Well, he could play the corner freeze, but what he's going to do...
Good solid hack. Right on the nose.
Well, what he's looking at, he's got to come down here, and he says, hit this one on the nose. He can't afford to hit it in the inside and drive it out that way. The nice part about it, if he makes it, Don, he'll be lying 2 behind the guard, fully guarded. That's the only shot, as opposed to coming around with the draw. All he's doing is playing a nose hit on that front one. You can't worry about what's going to happen after. Oh, he's, boy.
Well, it doesn't work out the way Kevin Park and Kevin Martin had visualized. Ontario still lies 1, sitting at the top of the forefoot.
Well, there's a lot of options facing Howard now.
Perfect. And the problem is if you go long, he makes that double.
Yeah. If it's there, is it there?
Yeah, oh, yeah.
That's not real big, but it's there.
I think he's got to go to the open side. Corner of the forefoot on the right-hand side of the sheet.
Could go here.
And I'll tell you why. You see the double they looked at on the over the left-hand side?
And if he wants to play a double, he'll make for 2. If he ever hits it wrong,
Could hit it too.
and if he doesn't, he's going to draw the net. I like that.
Top 8?
Yeah. Top 12. And get it on this angle. Okay, a little on the high side. Yeah, but still hard trouble coming through and making the double. There's 1 for 2.
What about hitting it? Boy, you ever hit and roll out, Russ? We're history. Oh, that's not worth it. I like this right there. It's perfect. Yeah, I gave you there.
No argument from the skip, eh? Glenn said, I like this.
That junked up a bit, so you want to be a little high side?
Yes.
If he picks it, he's only going to get one.
Right.
We
Okay.
got the high side, eh?
Yeah.
Get ready to sweep it into the 8 if we're light, eh? Because there's no use being short of the rings here. There. 12. Last.
Okay, what he's going to do, Don, is he wants to make sure that this rock is in the 12-foot to beat out the one over on the right-hand side belonging to Alberta. He's going to leave him the double, but he wants to, you heard him say, give me the high side. If he picks it out, he can only get one. Well, this rock's got a lot of weight on it. He doesn't want to line it up for an easy double. Yeah, it'll do his right.
Ontario lies too, and a bit of a smile across the face of Russ Howard.
Well, now you see the angle that
Comes off the top, does it?
Kevin Martin
I'll have a look
says
at
that
it.
if I hit it, it's going to come off the top of his own.
Doesn't it?
All depends which spin that 6 goes.
There you see.
We're gonna hit it right
You
on
see
the
how they're
nose.
lined up. If he
I think
hits
it
it
will.
correctly,
Yep.
he will remove that rock
honestly
that's
think it
belonging
will.
to Martin at the back.
He's going to hit the 6 in
That's
that
what he's
direction.
worried about.
I think it has to. Right on the nose.
Okay.
He has to hit it on the nose.
Just down normal.
I don't think he can save that
A hair of an inside roll
one
gets
at
us
the
one
back,
for
Don.
sure.
I think the best he can do is get one out of this.
It'll be a big break for them if they save that one on the back, because it looks like it's limed up to catch the back one with the double.
I'll tell you what he doesn't want to do, Colleen. He doesn't want to come across the face of it and just hair the one that Russ Howard just put there, because it could end up Ontario getting 3.
There's always that danger.
I mean, it's
because he could drive the 2 red stones back onto the yellow, the shooter roll out, and as
right.
you said, the possibility of 3 does exist.
It's pretty remote because you'd really have to throw it badly to go by the face of it. So they're all rolling around, and
Who has got shot rock?
I think Alberta scored.
They tap the yellow stone, and Alberta does pick up 1. The final shot takeout by Alberta skip Kevin Martin. So after 3 ends of play, it is Ontario 1 and Alberta 1. And now let's go to Sports Weekend Control in Toronto and Brian Williams.
All right, Don, busy afternoon in the NHL. If you can believe it, we have one final score. Game started at 11 o'clock in Philadelphia because of a carnival in the Spectrum. Here's the winning goal. Keith Acton, 7th of the year for the Flyers, from Conroy and Duchesne. Brown and Deneen had the others. Mike Ridley for Washington. Philadelphia defeating the Caps by a score of 3-1. Underway in about 15 minutes from now. 2 other games, Detroit at Minnesota, Buffalo's at Long Island. University hockey after 2 periods, semifinal. The Laurier Golden Hawks on a goal by Kevin Greco are tied with Acadia 1-1. Dwayne Dennis has scored for the Acadia Axemen. We'll have full updates during the afternoon. After this commercial break, we'll take you back live to Regina for more Brier semifinal action.
With sweeping lines that soothe the senses, dual airbags that make more than sense, and innovations like using the sun to cool the interior. What else could we have called this car? The new 929 Surrender from Mazda. 3M salutes the Olympic athletes who found a better way. Whose ideas were so original, there's no going back.
That same innovative thinking helped us invent Scotch brand tapes, and people have been sticking with us ever since. 3M, innovation working for you.
Until now, your emerging wheat or barley got a rough ride from in-crop wild oat and green foxtail herbicides. But unlike any post-emergent before, New Achieve single-handedly knocks out grass weeds without going against the grain. Achieve smokes wild oats when they're between 1 to 6 leaves, while all spring wheat, all barley develops safely. This season, choose New Achieve, the grass weed control that doesn't go against the grain.
Take the Edge head-to-head challenge. Edge, the canola herbicide. Edge, the champion.
Back at the Agridome in Regina, Ontario and Alberta deadlocked at 1 after 3 ends of play. That double that both sides are looking for could be decisive in a closely contested battle such as this one.
Well, the difficulty with that, Don, both rocks were spinning, and you never know who's the last spin of the rock. It could spin out towards the ring, and could have ended up with Ontario stealing another point. But a good shot by Kevin Martin. It ran very, very straight down there, and that ties the game.
Howard might be wondering about his guards, too. He had the opportunity to guard in the second end and then again in the third, and misplaced both of them. So possible steals in both of those ends for Howard.
When they met in round-robin competition, the first 4 ends were blanked. Ontario, with last rock advantage, got the deuce on end number 5, and that pretty much was the game as Ontario went on to a 3-1 win. Alberta got one back in the 7th, but Ontario finished it off with a single point on the 10th end. At the moment, Dan Petrick is out-curling his counterpart with the Ontario foursome, Wayne Middaugh. Wayne Middaugh gets a roll in behind cover, partially in behind cover, but from the other side, that rock is exposed, and that's the way that Kevin Martin will attack.
Well, Don, these two teams are so good that they're always trying to manipulate the rocks from one side of the sheet to the other side of the sheet, trying to get the inside roll, the outside roll, the freeze, and the toughest shot in curling is guards. And you just heard Pauline say that Russ Howard had a couple of chances to put a guard on and really put a lot of pressure, maybe steal another point on Alberta, and just didn't put it in the right spot.
The way these two teams are going after each other early, though, it shows the respect they have for each other. They know in order to score their deuce, they've got to play aggressively. They're not looking for any kind of open misses or anything like that. They know they've got to force each other into very difficult shots.
What about that shot?
Well, I think he was a little afraid of the ice, and he wanted to play it quiet. He knows that it runs very straight down there, but a little bit too quiet, and he just pushed the rock belonging to Ontario in the back of the 4-foot. So now the deuce is set up for Ontario, maybe more, depending how much of a roll Middaugh gets on this shot behind the center guard.
One of the reasons you saw the delivery by Middaugh that he does not lift the rock is that he has had back problems since a cast wheel in early November. In the Ontario regional playdowns, he was able to throw his rocks but couldn't sweep, and this has been a problem throughout the week for Wayne Middaugh. So he does not lift the rock at all when he delivers the stone.
Board weight to try to get the double, yeah.
Well, you remember what I said about Middaugh and Petrick? It's going to be between those two who could end up winning this game. There's 2 great shots by Middaugh, maybe a half shot by Petrick. Ontario's lying 2. Middaugh just made another great hit and roll and showing just a half of rock to Kevin Park. So it's a tough shot for Park. But if he can hit what he can see, Don, there's a good chance Park could make the double. Martin giving him about 4 inches of ice, so the rock will run very straight. Of course, the danger is that you must get out to that broom. If Park turns it in, it's liable to go on him. Oh, he's got a great-looking shot. Is it going to curl enough to make the double? Is it going to make contact at all? Oh, he just touches it. And far too much weight. And you see Park down at the other end. And Kevin Martin, just looking at him, he knows he threw too much weight.
So now there is an opportunity for Russ Howard to really take control of this end. Kevin Martin is in trouble, and he knows it.
Well, Ontario has last rock. There is one directly behind a guard just slightly off the center line, but I think Russ has got to come into that center line. You don't like playing in that area when you have last rock. You'd sooner be playing to the corners.
Not bad.
But this team is so good. Both teams are so good. They don't mind playing in the center. That's right, Glenn. You got to go around. You got to be tight to the rings.
It's been an incredible year for the Howard foursome. Coming into the Brier, a 51-4 competitive record. They had an 8-3 record here. So they are looking for their 60th win in competitive curling this year, as opposed to just 7 losses.
They've also won over $100,000 this year in prize money on the Cashfield circuit.
Boy, they're going to have to go hard on this. Look at the brushing on this. They are working hard. There have been about 3 guards they've thrown down here. Now, the brushers made this shot, Don, because it ran perfectly straight from where it was supposed to curl. They brushed it hard. Look at it. Absolutely a perfect shot. Absolutely a gorgeous, gorgeous curling shot.
Might have come a little bit too deep. If it had stuck around the 12 foot, it would have been...
Well, the thing about it, Colleen, it's behind the guard. If they hit it, there's still going to be one saved there.
I do.
They can't make the double.
Good sweep.
Kevin Park has struggled today. 54% of the shots he has made.
There's something to get out of this mess.
Stick of dynamite might help.
Either we get the freeze or we sit on a pin. He hasn't... No.
So you heard Kevin Martin say, how do we get out of this mess? And he's exactly right. He's in a terrible mess.
You hit it just right.
Okay, I think the way he can get out of this end maybe is come down here and just touch this one, Don, and hope to get a little roll in that area there. Just maybe play back 12-foot weight. I mean, he has to get out of it. He has to get the rock hidden. So he has to play that shot. There's no sense in hitting the top ones, because he's only going to remove one, and the shooter's going to roll in the open, and Ontario will have him wide open hit to line 3.
Like trying to bury a corner?
Doug Bartlett just walked over this way, the lead on Kevin Martin's team, said, we're in a lot of trouble. He's joking about it, though.
It's like the old line about being up to your neck in the swamp and alligators. And you kind of forget that your initial objective was to drain the swamp.
Shouldn't be real easy for him to get.
They got major
as long as we can get it to here, okay. Well, we'll give it a go.
Ask these guys what they think.
See, what he has to really play for here, he's got to play for 2 shots. He's got to come down on top of it and maybe get a little bit of a roll. But maybe if he gets on top of it...
Probably the safest thing to do.
Maybe Ontario will make a half a shot. He can get it with his next one. And that's what they're looking for. They have to look for some kind of break in the next 3 rocks.
Oh, I think so. I mean, if we rip this guard off, we're going to give up at least 3 and possibly 4.
There's not really any place for us to go with the draw right now.
What?
There's hardly any place for us to go with the draw.
And that's
where
the
you
big
can't
problem.
just knock us out. That's pretty easy to do, just to knock us out. Even if you weld it, we're out. None. He's got 2 buried on the top.
What if we hit and flop? Can we do that?
Flop.
Back, like, you know, back 8 weight. Catch half.
I don't mind that, or running it back.
Running it back, we might be able to kill 2.
Well, we could actually kill all 3 in the front. Can't get the back one, though. The very back one we can't get rid of. But
that's awful.
Oh, boy, I'll say.
That's optimistic,
I
yes,
don't
to think that they can drive it back and knock out the 2 and the 4.
He's going to blow us out of there.
On the hit, even if we hit it straight back and only get 2, at least we move those 2 off the floor.
And remember, while all this is going on, the clock is running.
Pin-turn hit just off the nose, and you get rid of all 3 in the top of the, or the 2 in the top of the house and the guard.
Okay, let's try that. At least we'll have a guard anyway.
Just off the nose?
Yeah.
Oh, what a gambling shot this is. Let me tell you, a lot of guys would try to maybe get into the 4-foot area. They're going to try to run an Ontario rock out in front onto the 2 that are frozen together, Don. Now, if he hits it off center, doesn't get anything in the house, Ontario will simply put up another guard, and they've actually wasted a shot. So somehow, some way, Kevin Park's going to have to run this one back and make contact with one of those rocks in the house, somewhere.
This is a shot that could be decisive in determining the outcome of this semifinal. Right back. Oh, what a shot.
What? See what happens? The guard's still there.
And Ontario still lies, too.
Look at that rock actually jumped in the house when it made contact. But now for Glenn Howard, he simply got the same rock, same shot to go around the center guard. Now there's lots of separation.
It was a great shot by Park, you're right, but Howard still has the opportunity for three.
2A.
Listen, Howard is looking to score. If he scores 2 this end, he's quite delighted. If he's going to get 3, he's elated.
Yep.
The only good thing about it for Alberta is there's a chance for a double off the one away on the right-hand side somewhere during the course of this end.
True, but as you said, if he scores 2, he's delighted.
Last rock advantage on this fourth end belongs to Ontario.
Oh, he's got a lot of room. Oh, this one has to be buried. He can't stay in the open. Look at that one run straight. They have to get a little bit buried.
Ontario now lies 3.
Well, now Kevin Martin might have a chance to get out of the end.
Exactly. That's exactly what he wants.
Freeze is going to be tricky.
What he wants to do is come down here, hit this one, get some movement on his shooter, and roll in here and make the double, because the one that Glenn put right there could offer him a little bit of protection, and that's why he's playing the double.
You're pretty close to the roll with down normal weight.
Right, okay.
Down normal weight, which means just a little less than his normal take-up. He wants to get action on his shooter. Look at the brush he's taken, right in the center of the rock, so there's no movement at all over there.
In their round-robin game, the Ontario-Alberta battle was decided on the 5th end when Ontario picked up a pair. And then they kept it clean the rest of the way. This is the 4th end of the semifinal, and the match could be decided here.
This is exciting, though, isn't it? I mean, every end there's been a couple of great shots played, some great doubles, great corner freezes. Just fantastic curling. Look at this. He's got enough of the rock that he needs to go to roll. No way. Not enough. You need a little bit thinner, Don, to get a little bit more movement on that.
Ontario has second and third shots. The rock just delivered by Martin is the shot stone, but it is open.
Yeah, it had to.
Is there any way that Martin can get himself out of this end?
Well, the only way he can is if Russ Howard hits and rolls into the button, then they're all lined up. He's got a shot at least making a straight back double or maybe a triple. I would think if I was Russ Howard, I might try to hit and maybe roll over the corner and give Alberta the chance to freeze to that one at the back, and then you got a shot for 4. Because you know the most Alberta's going to get is 1. So I think he would like to maybe hit and roll to the right-hand side as opposed to going in behind. And he certainly doesn't want to sit there, because if he sits there, Martin will hit and roll behind.
That would be the only bad shot, as opposed to, I guess, the open miss would be the worst.
That's not moving at all. He's going to sit right there.
And he didn't want to do that because he presents Martin with the opportunity to hit off that stone and roll behind cover.
Well, if there ever was a shot that's going to win you a Canadian championship, this might be it, Don. The difficulty for Kevin Martin, they've thrown some down there, is that the rock will not move at the end with any kind of weight, and he needs to get an inside roll. He cannot afford to roll to the right or hit it and sit on the nose. The key here is weight, and you heard Martin say, hack weight. I can't throw any more to hack. Hack weight, the sweepers control it, it'll run straight, then it'll curl at the end with hack weight. You throw it a little bit stronger, of course, it will not curl at the end. Big shot for Kevin Martin. Boy, is that rock moving. It is moving. He may just get a corner of it.
So it will be a free draw for 3 on end number 4 for Ontario's Russ Howard.
Yeah, I had to get on that thing. It's inside that ridge. Yeah, we had to hold the ridge.
Well, I think Kevin's shaking his head on the sweeping on both of his shots there.
I don't think so much the sweeping as the calling.
Anyway.
I mean,
like that.
if he's got it on the nose, they got to sweep it because they know it moves a bit at the
by.
end. He's throwing quieter weight.
Oh, yeah.
And you heard Kevin say pitiful, absolutely pitiful. We had to stay on that ridge. There's a spot in the ice where it'll run very, very straight as long as you brush it.
Well, I got to go fairly wide when I can't touch mine. All right. Is it normal here, though?
Playing the out turn. He was going to go to the in turn. The trouble with going with the in turn, Don, you're going to the small part of the rings. Playing the out turn, you're going into the fat part of the rings. But
he's a little concerned.
For Russ Howard, he's going out a little bit wider, whether it would be heavier. And, of course, the good front end at the R corner, Madaw said, no, it's not any heavier out there. It's the same.
A big shot for Russ Howard. He can take control of this match.
Well, that's in a fast spot. I mean, he looks fine.
With the out-turn draw, he hits the 4-foot circle for 3 on end number 4. An end that could be the turning point in this Labatt-Brier semifinal. After 4 ends of play, Ontario has control, leading Alberta by a score of 4-1.
For all those people who want a roll of bathroom tissue to last longer, there's new Purex Jumbo. With 50% more billowy soft sheets on every roll, it takes forever to run out.
Whoa.
Priority Courier competes hard every day. Not for medals, but to be the best in the business. It's a smoothly coordinated effort. All of it aimed at 100% on-time delivery. Priority Courier is proud to be Canada's truly national courier and to be among some very elite company as the official courier of the 1992 Olympics.
You can make a lot of dry beer in the comfort of your own home. All you need is a lot of rare aromatic hops, a lot of choice Canadian barley, a lot of cold, clear water, and a few other fine ingredients. You brew it longer than Labatt's regular beer for a clean, dry taste. Oh, that's right. You need a 15,000-gallon kettle. Nah, maybe you better let Labatt make La Beer dry.
It's easy to bump up the taste of cereal, right? Take bananas. Simple. Strawberries, ditto. Blueberries, hardly rocket science. Nuts, not so fast. Ah, but now there's new Nuts and Crunch from Nabisco. Big, crispy, 4-grain flakes combined with nutty little nuggets with real almonds, pecans, and walnuts. 3 kinds of nuts, 1 truly nutty taste. New Nabisco Nuts and Crunch. Crack open a box.
Where shooters are so skilled, 3 is a big score in a semifinal match such as this. Ontario would appear to have control, leading 4-1. But remember, on the final draw of round-robin competition for Alberta and Manitoba, Manitoba's Vic Peters had a 4-1 lead after 5 ends of play. And Alberta came back with 2 on the 7th and a steal of 1 on the 8th to tie it.
Let me tell you, Kevin is a tremendous skip. His team can make all the shots. I mean, if there's a rock 1 inch away from the boards, he'll go around it somehow. He will manipulate the rocks to get 2. This is going to be a fun game because he's going to try and put up the corner guards and draw around them. Even when he has last rock, he throws up corner guards. He ignores the traditional way to play curling. He likes to put the rocks anywhere and hope you hit it on the nose or make a mistake, and he'll get back in this game. So Russ Howard has to be very, very careful what happens, where the rocks are situated, where the corners are, how much the ice is going to curl. That's the difficult part for Howard. If he's going to run the rocks, then he's going to lose his touch for draw weight. And somewhere, sometime during the course of the remaining of this game, he's going to have to play a nice either quiet tap back or a draw, and he may lose it. So he has to really concentrate.
Well, that's the thing. You have to start throwing more weight in the game and, you know, all the peels. And then when it comes time to make a finesse shot, it's a little bit harder. We also saw in one of the last games of the round robin, Ontario got up 6-0 against Newfoundland, and the game wound up going a full 10 ends with Russ Howard having to throw his first rock of the 10th. So Newfoundland came back.
Look at the movement on this rock. You'll see that he gave him just inside the center line. The rock is about 18 inches from the board, so there's lots of room to bury. Now, you keep the rocks high so that you can bury more rocks around that corner guard. Tighter to the rings, of course, it's difficult to draw around them. So you put your guards high so that there's lots of movement. You can miss the guard by a foot and still remain buried.
Wayne Middaugh, the second for Ontario, hits, and the shooter goes out of play as well. I wonder if they have any interesting discussions on this Ontario rink. Wayne Middaugh is a golf professional at St. George's, and of course Russ Howard is the golf pro at the Brookley Golf Club. Wayne said that if we mentioned Neil Verway's name, the head man at St. George's, he might get a raise.
Well, he deserves a raise, too.
Well, Bob Moyer, who was our executive producer at the Olympic Games in Albertville, a former president of Toronto St. George's. Maybe you and I'll get a raise.
Well, let me throw some names around, too. But Russ says that Wayne's the better golfer, too, but Russ still manages to beat him when they play one-on-one.
Now, a sign of a good skip, of course. Kevin Martin put one corner guard on one side. Ontario ran it off. Then Kevin went to the other side. And he's changing turns. Now he put the rock in the center, Don. So he's mixing up the guards for Ontario to run off, hoping that Ontario maybe hit 3/4 of a rock and somehow stay in play that they can get around.
Well, Ontario was very successful in the first game in round-robin competition after scoring the 2 on the 5th end against Alberta, of playing the peel game the rest of the way.
Although even in that game, Kevin was saying that they had their guards up, they just failed to capitalize. So, you know, it's hard to peel for 5 straight ends, and certainly Howard's team, as good a team as they are, won't be peeling for 5 straight. They're going to get a nose in there sooner or later, and that's the opportunity that Kevin needs to score his deuce. And once it's a one-rock game again, the game's back on.
Well, you know, you have a contrast in styles here as far as their thinking goes. Russ Howard is a proponent of the free guard zone. Kevin Martin is opposed to it.
Well, that's right. It's really interesting. And Russ Howard likes the free guard zone, but he likes to have some alteration to it, Don. Like not 4 rocks, maybe 3. And he also came up with a good idea last night. He said, look, maybe not such a free guard zone. The first 3 rocks, you cannot take out of play at all, whether they're in the rings or out in front. No such thing as a free guard zone. And I kind of like that idea. You know, he said, you know, we have to sell this game. It has to be good for television, which it is. We have to get more rocks and play more finesse in the game. And that's...
But Kevin Martin countered with a comment in the game against Manitoba, 5th end, playing under the rules that exist. There were 15 rocks in play.
Yeah, that's right. And the other scenario, of course, is Alberta. Kevin Martin likes to get up 2 points, and he'll run everything. He'll throw them through the rings in the 2nd and 3rd end. He feels that he's good enough to get 2 points ahead of you. You try and catch him, and that's his theory. So there's both thoughts on both sides of the fence. I kind of like the modified rule of maybe 3 rocks. The only trouble with the free guard zone, or there's a couple of problems with the free guard zone, is that all the play goes to the center, very little play in the corners. Last rock could end up meaning nothing to you.
The guy with the last rock doesn't have a shot.
That's right. He may not have a shot because of the free guard zone. There could be a lot of rocks out in play.
Well, of course.
The nice thing about it is that there's exciting curling, there's lots of rocks in play, and you have to play every end, and the lead has to be a good shooter. Not that they're not now, but he has to make all the finesse shots, as do the 2nd, the 3rd, and the skip. So you have to curl every end.
It's like 10 mini games, really, and I know it's still being studied in Canada, but the winner of the Brier, along with Connie Laliberty, the winner of the Scott Tournament of Hearts, when they head over to the World Championships in Garmisch, they'll be faced with the free guard zone rules, so they'll all have to adapt to it.
You know how it started, this free guard zone? Russ and Glenn used to practice, and they'd throw the rocks up and down. Glenn would put it in, Russ would hit it out. Glenn would put it in, Russ would put it out. So they said, well, look, let's not do that anymore. Let's just say you can only throw 4 draws and 4 hits, or the first 4 rocks you can't hit. And that's how they used to practice.
And they introduced the free guard zone to the Moncton 100 cast field in January of 1990. Now, Kevin Martin was forced to contend with the free guard zone at the Olympic Games in Pralognan. He had success until he got to the semifinal. And then he lost that semifinal to Urs Dick of Switzerland by a score of 8-4 and wound up losing in the bronze medal game to the United States 9-2.
Well, the free guard zone rule on ice like this that swings is all right, but the free guard zone rule over in France on such straight ice where everybody was playing little raises and bumps and you couldn't get around a center guard.
But you know what? The Europeans love that. They're used to that type of ice and those kind of rocks. They're not used to nice swinging ice and nice movement in here. So I think they had a distinct advantage because the ice over in Pralognan was to their liking, not to Kevin Martin's liking or Julie Sutton's.
The stone just delivered by Kevin Martin hangs on the edge of the 12-foot. Alberta lies 1.
Normal? Yeah, that's lots of ice.
The winner of this game will face Manitoba's Vic Peters for the Labatt Brier Championship, and we'll have that game for you tomorrow. Peters finishing atop the round-robin standings with a record of 9-2. Alberta and Ontario both at 8-3.
And Vic beat both these teams in round-robin played on and did it very convincingly. You know, there was the incident of the burnt rock against Alberta in the 9th end, but if Vic Peters makes his rock in the 8th end, he's 5 up on Alberta. So he kind of handled both these teams in the round-robin nicely. This is for all the marbles and a little different attitude for Bill.
And Russ Howard gets the roll into the 8-foot. Now it's up to Kevin Martin with last rock to hit and roll out. He wants to retain last rock advantage. He desperately requires at least 2 with last rock to get back into this game.
See, here's another thing about free guard zone. Do you hit and roll out here, or maybe do you hit this on the nose because you get the option of throwing the first rock and the opposing team can't take it out the next end? So, you know, there's a lot of theories about it, and you know, I think we need a little bit of change in curling, but I don't think the people that instituted it really did a lot of thinking about it.
And in a game steeped in tradition, change doesn't come that easily, too.
He wanted to roll that shooter out of there, but he does not. It hangs around, and Alberta picks up a single point on the 5th end. So halfway through this Labatt Brier semifinal, it's Ontario's Russ Howard, the 1987 champion, leading the defending champion, Kevin Martin of Alberta, by a score of 4-2. It's been an interesting game, a well-curled game, and that 4th end could prove to be decisive. It was on the 4th end where Ontario scored a big 3. And now heading into the 6th end, Ontario's Russ Howard will again have the last rock advantage as he attempts to engrave his name on the Labatt Brier tankard for a second time. Now, let's join Colleen standing by with Russ Howard.
Russ Howard, you've got full control of the game. Did it surprise you that it came so early in the 4th end?
Yeah, it really was. Kevin's team, they don't usually give up 3-enders. I don't know how many they've given up this year, but I bet there weren't too many. And we were on top of them every end except the first. We got into a bit of a mess, and I didn't make a good shot. But other than that, we had our chances. But yeah, 3's real nice.
You had a couple of opportunities for guards in the I think the 1st and 2nd end, possible steals, especially in the 2nd end. Has the ice changed a little bit? It seemed to be curling a lot harder on you.
Yeah, I agree with you. At the in practice, the edge of the 4 was treacherous. Nothing moved at all. And now we're going edge of the 4. They're crossing the center line. And I threw 2 guards. One might have been a little tight, so we took the same ice and it pulled across the same way. And we gave him a chance in the 2nd end.
Up to with the hammer, full control. I don't suppose you're going to take any chances.
Well, it's really nice that it's only a 6-end game. We got a long way to go here, and no, we're not going to take any chances. We got to keep the corn off the edges there and keep throwing the PLs nice and pure.
All right, well, good luck the rest of the way. Russ Howard, skipper of the Ontario team, up 2 after 5 ends of play.
And as they continue to clean the ice and get ready for the final 5 ends, we'll take this break before we return to the Agridome.
Very cool. It's party time. Check the time, man. Look, you get the blue, and I'll get the bodies.
Labats Blue. Now you're laughing.
On June 23, 1991, Mazda defeated Jaguar, Porsche, and Mercedes to win the world's most prestigious 24-hour endurance race, Le Mans. But Le Mans wasn't won in a day. It took years of tireless research, innovation, and commitment. It's the way we built racing cars. But more importantly, it's the way we built every Mazda.
3M salutes the Olympic athletes who found a better way. Whose ideas were so original, there's no going back. 3M pays tribute to Canadian originals with the Olympic Innovator Series. Collect the poster in all 21 cars. 3M, innovation working.
No, I've never had a fajita before.
Introducing new beef fajitas at McDonald's. Seasoned beef, green peppers, onions, and tomatoes in a soft tortilla with hot or mild sauce for only $1.29. A little taste of Mexico at McDonald's.
And you say we never go anywhere.
Until now, your emerging wheat or barley got a rough ride from in-crop wild oat and green foxtail herbicides. But unlike any post-emergent before, New Achieve single-handedly knocks out grass weeds without going against the grain. Achieve smokes wild oats when they're between 1 to 6 leaves, while all spring wheat, all barley develops safely. This season, choose New Achieve, the grass weed control that doesn't go against the grain.
Still ahead today, it's all downhill in Aspen. Franz Heinzer leads the way, with Olympic gold medalist Patrick Ortley close behind. The final men's World Cup downhill of the season. At Panorama, the women jump into the spotlight. Karen Lee Gartner is coming off a second at Vail, looking to move up. Well, Katja Zeisinger tries for 2 in a row. Doubling up on downhill. From Aspen and Panorama, coming up.
Welcome back to the Agridome in Regina. We're at the midpoint of this Labatt-Brier semifinal. A score of 3 on the 4th end could prove to be the decisive points in the showdown between Alberta and Ontario. 4-2, Ontario leads. Alberta skip Kevin Martin is standing by with Colleen.
Thanks, Don. Kevin, that 3 in the 4th, it just might be the killer.
Yeah, we may not get to see another rock now. All we can do is try.
The end didn't progress that badly. You know, 2 misses, but then you had the chance to get out of it with your hit and roll with your last rock, and it just, curled hard at the end?
Actually, at the end, it did float back enough to even make it sort of close, but I'm not sure it curled a lot at the start. We didn't expect that because Russ's didn't in the same spot, so it went a little and then it was gone.
No free guard zone rule in effect here to help you get rocks in play. How do you get a nose hit out of this team?
Oh, I think we'll get a couple of nose hits. They nosed a couple of center guards in the 1st and 4th ends, and we just didn't make use of them, and hopefully we get a few more.
And I think in the last game of the round robin, too, Manitoba gave you a couple of opportunities to get back in that game, too.
Oh, they did. They gave us lots of opportunities, and a little unfortunate there, but we'll give it our best and see what happens.
All right, Kevin Martin, thank you very much. Kevin Martin, skip of Alberta, down 2 after 5 against Ontario. Don?
I don't think there's any doubt that Kevin Martin and his Alberta champions will be battling over the final 5 ends. Unfortunately for Alberta, as they move into end number 6, they do not have last rock advantage. That belongs to R.Howard of Ontario. We're just about set to get underway with the 6th end of this Labatt-Brier semifinal, but first, let's return to Sports Weekend Control in Toronto, and here's Brian Williams.
All right, Don, a very busy afternoon in the National Hockey League. Believe it or not, just after 2:30 Eastern, we have one final score in between Philadelphia and Washington. That game started at 11 a.m. local times because of a carnival in the Spectrum. It is 1-0 for Washington when Dave Brown, with his 4th goal of the year from Freer and Steve Duchesne, ties the hockey game at 1-1. Then Keith Acton's 7th of the year from Al Conroy and Steve Duchesne makes it 2-1 for Philadelphia. Kevin Dineen would get his 25th of the year. Mike Ricci and Brindamore assisting, and Mike Ridley with his 24th of the year from Kelly and Miller for the Washington Capitals. The Flyers now 7 points behind Pittsburgh, 1 point behind the New York Islanders. Let's take you to the Met Center in Minnesota. Detroit Red Wings and the Minnesota North Stars. First period. Here is Shane Churla's 4th goal of the year. Dave Gagne, Mike Modano assisting, and the Minnesota North Stars in a fight with Toronto, now leading the Detroit Red Wings by a score of 1-0 in the first period. Also in the first period this afternoon on Long Island, Buffalo, Doug Bodger's 11th from Rutu and Wood, and the Buffalo Sabres out in front of the New York Islanders by a score of 1-0. Molson's Hockey Night in Canada coming up tonight at 8 Eastern. You will see either Pittsburgh at Toronto or the Los Angeles Kings at Montreal. University hockey in the first semifinal this afternoon, Acadia and Laurier. Let's pick it up. The game is tied 1-1 in the third period. The Acadia Axemen and the Laurier Golden Hawks. Here is Mike Arthur's goal for Acadia to make it 2-1 Acadia. Now the Axemen will go ahead 3-1. George Dupont gets the goal. The Acadia Axemen late in that hockey game, leading the Laurier Golden Hawks by a score of 3-1. That's at Varsity Arena in Toronto. The second semifinal starting in about 1 hour and 20 minutes from now. Defending champion Trois-Rivières against the University of Alberta Golden Hawks. In baseball, Toronto Blue Jays, after 3 innings, are out in front of the Pittsburgh Pirates at the Skydome by a score of 2-0. Dave Winfield had a solo shot for the Toronto Blue Jays, solo home run in the second inning, and Jack Morris has pitched the first 3 innings for Toronto. We'll update golf and other happenings later on this afternoon. After this break, we'll return live to the Brier in Regina.
The Automobile Journalists of Canada took 3 months to test the finalists, but just a few seconds to choose the winner. The Mazda RX-7, voted Best New Performance Car of 1992.
Today, Pepsi announced a new slogan. Mere words? Or is a taste of Pepsi so big, America's really got to have it?
Gotta have it. It's something I felt for years, but never had the words to express.
If it's so popular, how come everybody's drinking it?
Henry's only regret is that he started drinking Pepsi this late in life.
The phrase, gotta have it, strikes a chord deep in the human psyche.
Now that everybody's gotta have it, Pepsi's not gonna need celebrity endorsers anymore.
And that's what I've been saying all along.
I guess it's the people at Bank of Montreal. They know what you need, and they're there to help you.
We like to go into the front yard, put down a blanket, and look at the house and draw pictures of how we see our house once we finish the renovations.
I just feel it's important for him as he grows up to know how to manage his money.
You hope that the children will be educated and have a better life.
Just being able to afford a future with the way things are these days.
Bank of Montreal, we're paying attention.
It's people dealing with people.
One Tough Motor Oil announces One Tough Guarantee. The Quaker State 400,000 kilometers or 10-year guarantee. Register your new car at a participating service center. Then use only Quaker State. Have oil and filter changed as directed at a service center. And if any lubricated engine part suffers an oil-related breakdown within 400,000 kilometers or 10 years, you're covered. Quaker State guarantees it in writing. The big Q is One Tough Motor Oil.
At Mazda, we believe a car should just feel right. So do the Automobile Journalists of Canada. The MX-3 Presidia, voted Best New Sporty Car of 1992.
There are many decongesting cold tablets that relieve head cold congestion. They're effective. If you want fast relief, a nasal spray begins to work in seconds, reaching peak effectiveness in 5 minutes. It actually shrinks swollen membranes to relieve your congestion. Used as directed, a nasal spray like long-lasting Dristan nasal mist will last up to 12 hours. So you only need to use it twice a day.
From Canada's curling heartland, it's the 1992 Labatt Brier Semifinal. Ontario leading Alberta 4-2 as we start the 6th inning. The 13th year that Labatt has been involved in sponsorship of the Canadian Men's Curling Championship. And this will be the second largest week-long attendance ever. The record established in 1989 in Saskatoon when better than 150,000 watched a week of curling action.
Well, if you wanted to be assured of a success financially in any national curling event, you can always have it in Saskatchewan, because they just do an outstanding job of supporting curling.
Can I ask you, is the Brier attendance record going to be threatened at the Seniors Championship in Nipawin?
I think all these people, like they've got about 80, 90 big buses lined up to take all these people right to Nipawin tomorrow.
I mentioned Nipawin because Don Duguid tomorrow evening will be heading to Nipawin, Saskatchewan to hook up with his skip, Barry Fry, at the Canadian Seniors Curling Championship. If the rink is 0-3 by the time you get ready to go to Nipawin, Mr. Duguid, might you just head straight down the Trans-Canada Highway back to Winnipeg?
I may do that. Conversely, if they're 3-0, I may not even make the ice.
You know, this is a strategy that worked for Kevin Martin in other round-robin games. He doesn't have last rock. Most people put it right on the center guard. But he calls it a corner guard, and he's been able to get misses somehow that way.
That's right. He is very aggressive that way. And traditionally, everybody says, well, you throw it on the center line. But he doesn't think tradition counts in this particular instance, especially when you're playing a guy like Howard. You got to do the unorthodox.
Well, they got that first rock miss, and now Don Bartlett goes in behind that corner guard. Alberta lies 1. Don Bartlett curling 100% so far in this match. He was the leader among all leads during the week at 91%. He asked us to say hello to his parents who are watching today's action in Gander, Newfoundland.
He's a fabulous curler with a great attitude, too. I mean, he's always kind of able to put a smile on his face no matter how bad the situation.
Well, I'll tell you, Kevin Martin's team from Alberta, when they're down, they can be very, very dangerous. And now, see, here's a little bit of strategy. Now he's going to put it on the center line. He's going to say to Russ, okay, I'm not even going to guard that one. I'm going to put this on the center line. You hit the one on the house, and I'm going to go around the one on the center line. He is committed to maybe pecking away at Ontario, stealing one in the 6th, maybe one in the 7th, with this type of strategy, and that's exactly what he's looking for. Or, conversely, if he holds Ontario to 1, he's down 3, he'll try to score 2 in the next hit. So he'll try all kinds of tricks to get back in this game. And let's tell you, if anybody can do it, Kevin Martin's team can do it. They're a tremendous curling team.
Well, we talked about the $100,000 that Russ Howard and his rink won this year on the Cash Spiel circuit. The Alberta rink picked up $60,000. They won 4 events. They won in Bern, Switzerland, in Long Lac, and in Camrose, Alberta, and at the Otwell Curling Club.
That's just a great shot, but the center guard is still there. A beautiful shot by Manaw. Runs them both off. His shooter rolls just to the left of the center line. And, of course, Kevin Martin's going to go around that one immediately. He is going to try to make it as difficult as possible for Howard to score 1. He's going to say, okay, Russ, you make a great shot. You can take your 1, but I'm going to make it really difficult on you. I'm not going to let you throw him up and down the chute.
Let's clean this up.
No, you don't get to this point and play in a semifinal and just hand it to the other team. I think you go down fighting all the way.
Let me tell you, I don't know whether this was bad ice reading or Dan Petrick threw it out, but that rock run absolutely straight. I mean, he missed that guard by a good 2.5 feet. And you see Kevin grab his forehead to say, well, what happened there?
Well, I like what it is. Kevin Martin hasn't had many reasons to smile this afternoon. As a matter of fact, during the final 4 games of round-robin competition, there weren't a lot of smiles appearing on the face of the Alberta skip. He and his rinks struggled a little.
Well, that's right. In those last 4 games, even the 2 games they eked out victories in, they really could have lost those games just as easily, especially to the Northwest Territories, who had last rock in the extra end.
Now, Kevin Martin, he's got another chance, and he's going to tighten up the ice a bit. It all hit that one right on the nose. A little bit of an opening. You see lots of room between the two. He can even rub the one on the left-hand side and trickle into the house. Well, we'll just see what ice he takes here.
Should walk in there pretty good.
Martin doesn't mind giving up 1 here, but ideally he would like to steal at least 1.
Or 2 or 3, he's thinking.
He has to get some big shots out of Kevin Park.
It slides through the hole.
Beautiful shot by Kevin Park. That rock took a long time to curl, but it's almost dead behind the long guard. You'll see it there. And the danger, of course, for Howard is, Don, he has to play a little bit more weight to move this rock, and it may run too straight for him.
More, or a little less.
Forward. Wait. Forward. Can you stay?
Hack.
There you see it. You can see about a quarter of the rock.
No, I know. That's what I mean.
Of course, there's a right way and a wrong way to miss this particular shot when you have last rock. Don't go by and miss everything. At least take off the guard if you're not going to make contact with the shot rock.
Yeah. Hack.
And the guard you want to take off, of course, is the one on the right of center there.
And they're discussing weight. They're saying they're going to throw hack weight. That means you throw just enough so that you push the rock and the rings all the way to the hack.
Well, they better start coming with this one because it'll start to move.
He's through. And shots like that by Glenn Howard, one of the reasons he led all thirds in percentages during the week.
Shot. Jumped up on you.
Well, you know, we said the key to any curling shot is weight. The weight is just a guideline that you're going to throw, and he threw it absolute perfect. You'll see he just squeezes by the guard on the... This is when the rock starts to make his move. But look at the nice roll he ends up with. Right behind the guard on the right-hand side, just enough weight. Didn't push it through, but look at the roll. That's a great shot.
You know, it's amazing because that is a narrow port. When we watched that on slow-mo, you saw it got by both guards just by a fraction of an inch. And yet they're navigating that port like it's wide enough to drive a truck through.
Well, big gamble for Alberta. They're hoping for a miss out of Ontario because now they're going into exactly the same spot. And this could really backfire on them if Ontario keeps making good shots. Oh, look at this. This one by the guard tighter. Oh, that's a beautiful shot. Absolutely gorgeous. A little bit deeper. Buried completely, Donnie, on the inside. So I don't know whether he can move this. The only bad thing, he slipped behind the tee line, and he may only just draw up to it. That's a beautiful shot.
Is this wrong? We could have a look at 3 here.
That's exactly right, Kevin. You heard him say we could be looking at 3.
Bump it? Yeah. No?
Look how much more that rock is tucked in behind.
Tough.
That's a good 6 inches over.
Okay. Just bump it a foot.
Where were we here?
Yeah.
Boy, you talk about compatibility between Skip and Vice Skip.
Bump it a foot.
These two have got it. I mean, they both agree on the ice and how much weight they're going to throw. And Russ always says to Glenn, is that enough, do you think? And Glenn will either confirm or deny. But great communication.
Well, Glenn's 6.5 years younger than Russ. Shows him a lot of respect, I think. But they do have great compatibility on the ice. They seem to know what each other's thinking and what to say at just the right time to boost each other back up if they're a little bit down.
And that's why you and I show so much respect for Don Dugan.
Same line, boy, they're going hard.
Oh, what a beauty.
That's a great curling. Isn't that is beautiful curling, let me tell you. You don't know how exacting that is. That's 93 feet by the time he lets it go from the other end to the rock in the 4-foot, Donnie. Look, he said he'd bump it a foot. That's exactly what he did.
Those were 4 killer shots right in a row.
Let me tell you.
I don't know. Huh?
When the opposing team makes shots like that, you can feel it slipping.
We need to roll this way, I think. All right, whichever. Sure.
Well, unless Kevin Martin can do something here, he could be getting close to gloves off time.
Well, he needs a little bit of movement on his shooter, Don. He has to get a little bit of a roll.
Last rock advantage on this sixth end belongs to Russ Howard, and Ontario leading 4-2, lies 2.
Well, Kevin Martin's done. He has to roll into this area here. The danger is he can't roll too far or that one will be shot. So this, you're dealing with about 8 inches here. So he has to hit 3/4 of a rock, get some movement to the right. He'll have the long guard and the one in the 4-foot for protection. But a tough shot for Martin.
Only someone who has played the game at such a highly competitive level as yourself and Colleen can appreciate how delicate a shot such as this is.
It really is.
We've seen this rock curl in nicely with the down weight, but with this bigger weight, we're not quite sure if it's going to hang. Perfect.
Look at that. What? Let me tell you, isn't this a treat to watch? This is unbelievable shot making.
Oh, that's a real tough.
He only wanted to move that shooter about 8 inches after it made contact. I don't think it went a millimeter beyond 8 inches.
Look at this. Here you see it coming through the house. Now, you know that he has to hit that almost 3/4. That's exactly what he does. Gets the inside roll. Shows a little bit of a corner to Ontario, but I don't think they can go through that hole with the outturn. Unbelievable shot.
You can tap that one in. Yeah. You could get through that hole of the outer and you're laughing. Okay, let's try it. What do you think, though? You think it's worth it? Okay. Firm? Yeah.
Now, Russ Howard is looking at going through that hold on. He has to make sure he gets by this one here and hope that it curls enough just to maybe clip this one. If he clips this one, his shooter will come over here and he'll be lying 2 behind guards. So this is a great shot. If he can hit what he can see, he's going to be lying 2 buried. But look at the opening. I mean, that rock has got some curling to do, and he's got to hope that he doesn't pull on the one on the left-hand side.
Wow.
If he's outside the line, he's fine. He threw it. Does he got it? Look at this. What a shot.
Let me tell you, folks, it doesn't get much better than this.
Can you believe that? We've seen a lot of great shots at curling, but never 3 in a row like this. This is unbelievable.
3 in a row. I think we've seen about 6 in a row.
Oh, this is just great shooting.
Yeah, starting with Kevin Park's first shot there. We've seen 6 great shots through this hole.
Look at this. He just gets by the outside one. You see them jump in the air. He makes contact, rolls over, makes contact with the other one, and spins over into the 12-foot. Just a beautiful shot. Now what do you do?
You can hear
if
that
you're Kevin Martin?
not make the double. Watch this.
A little less. Okay. You're Kevin Martin. You're trying to draw it into the 4-foot Don. Hopefully get it buried. Can they make 3 in a row? That's what he's saying himself. If I get it in there perfect, can he make another one like that? They know he's a little bit heavy.
A lot heavy.
It's got a bite. He's got great line.
Well, now, Ontario with last rock lies 1. Do you go after that second shot and gamble on getting 3?
I think you play the straight draw, and if you come down to it and tap it back, you've got to tap it back about 18 inches to get 3.
I think we're running out of corn here too, eh?
Yeah, his didn't pick at all.
You mind moving up?
Oh, yeah.
Now, what does he mean when he says, I think we're running out of corn?
Where he threw it, Russ.
I don't know what he means by that.
Good.
Maybe there's a lot of corn getting on the ice.
We can bump it. Like that?
But that's roughly the same ice that Kevin Martin took.
How about the outturn?
He was a little bit heavy. Slid to the back 8-foot, so there's lots of room because Martin went by that rock by a good 2 inches.
Well, or the draw.
I think you're quite satisfied to score 2 here.
That's the view from the home end.
The yellow rock belonging to Alberta is way in the back of the 8-foot. The guard that he has to be worried about is up in front. Look how much inside it is. So he's playing. Oh boy! Oh, that was almost a double.
Double release.
A double release. So that was a double release. I'd like to see that again on replay.
Ready, clean, clean, clean.
Can he tap it back far enough?
I think there's. I'm going to tell you something. I think there's going to be a discussion about this rock thrown. No. Now the official's coming out. I think he double threw it, Donnie.
That's bullshit. Oh, come on, guys. You haven't called him all week.
He's calling it over the hog line.
Right on the hog line, yeah.
It was very close to the hog
line.
line.
All week,
Let's see the replay.
Well, let's watch the replay.
Okay, here it comes. Now watch him. He actually takes his hand off it to me, and then he lets it go again.
Don't worry about
Watch here. See?
Game's over anyway.
Twice.
Picked up my hand, lost its handle.
That's right, Russ.
Yeah.
It looked like he lost
the 3.
He actually, Don, took his hand off it and then put it back on it again, which basically could be a bird rock.
Well, our angle is a little different, but the discussion is going to continue.
We'd like to see the replay, please. Oh, but I'd like to see the replay.
Yeah, okay, that's fine. I'm toggling, but the problem is you didn't call him all week, and now you're calling him now.
He's off. I don't think he was over. I don't think he was over.
You didn't call hog line all week, and you're going to call one now?
There has been some hog lines called this week.
That's a rules. Let's go.
It was judgment.
There were 3 hog line violations during the week.
Hey, Russ.
Well, if you can live with that, that's fine. Okay.
Nice judgment call.
Now, are they calling the hog line on Howard? It appears that they are. Yes, they are.
They're definitely calling the hog line.
Will we get one?
Ontario will still get 1.
Oh, he threw a great shot.
But a great call on that, Don. You picked that up immediately.
But it looked like he had trouble with the turn on it, Don. And what happened, he looked like he took his hand off it slightly and then grabbed it again to get the turn on it. And by that time, he was at the line. An unfortunate break for Russ Howard. He's upset, but he's being a gentleman about it. So is Glenn. They said, never mind, forget it.
Bob Decker, the senior official, came out to speak with Russ Howard, and Bob was telling us that during the week there were 3 hog line violations. And they have called the hog line violation on Russ Howard. And although our angle is a little different than what the officials have right at the hog line, it did appear as though, as you said, he put his hand back in the rock just as it hit the hog line.
Wouldn't it? Wouldn't it have been a puck, eh?
That's ridiculous, you know.
That would have been over. My hand was going the other way. I had an out-turn halfway out.
You guys have been over by a foot and a half all week. That's good.
You're playing friendly today. You're playing friendly today. Somebody is. I guess I don't have to go to the clock start.
Now they're waiting for the clock to start, so...
There's a lot of delays, eh? As soon as the weekend comes? Yeah.
I don't know what's wrong, why they haven't started with the clocks.
Well, let's take another look. Watch this delivery by Russ Howard. He releases the stone and then grabs it again.
We'll stay here all day if we want.
Well, isn't it when we told Russ?
See?
Yeah, but it's a nice little protest.
That's what curlers refer to as a double clutch.
But, you know, you can see there that his foot was still at the hog line, so I know the rule is clearly released.
Well, Colleen, your hand must be completely off the rock before the rock hits the hog line.
Well, his foot and hand were off the hog line, at the hog line there in the freeze that we just had.
So it's a single point on end number 6 for Ontario, and they now lead by a score of 5-2 in this Labatt-Brier semifinal that has developed a bit of controversy as a result of what happened with the final stone of N6.
Labatt's Light takes a refreshing look at musical chairs. Ideally, it's best to play with one chair. Then there's the taste of a Labatt's Light right out of the ice. Now that's refreshing. Labatt's Light takes a refreshing look at the beach movie. Nah, this isn't a beach movie. It appears to be Singing in the Rain. Then there's the taste of a Labatt's Light, right out of the ice. Now that's refreshing.
With sweeping lines that soothe the senses. Dual airbags that make more than sense. And innovations like using the sun to cool the interior. What else could we have called this car? The new 929 Surrender from Mazda.
This was me with dull gray hair. I looked washed up. Then I found a whole new way to make my gray look great.
Introducing a new kind of shampoo from the makers of Just for Men Hair Care called Great Looking Gray. Great Looking Gray does more than clean and condition. It gets rid of the dullness, even yellow buildup, brings out the real silver.
What a difference it makes.
New Great Looking Gray shampoo. And for stubborn yellow, new Great Looking Gray anti-yellow treatment.
So, it's your turn to spring for the donuts.
I sprang last time.
What? You sprang. I sprung, remember? 2 chocolate dips, an apple fritter, 2 Boston cream, and a Dutchie.
Incredible. Look.
It's only $3.25 for 6.
Yeah. So, why don't you spring?
Spring for 6 fabulously fresh donuts at Tim Hortons, still only $3.25.
Hey, I wanted the sugar twist.
Who sprang?
You sprung.
Exactly.
I'll spring tomorrow.
The 7th end, and it is a 5-2 lead for Ontario over Alberta. This was the delivery by Ontario skip Russ Howard that resulted in some controversy, and the rule clearly states in the delivery of a stone, the handle shall be clearly released from the hand before the stone reaches the nearer hog line. Clearly released means that not only must the player release the stone, he must also ensure that his hand does not prevent an official from seeing that the stone is released. And in the opinion of the official, obviously, his hand had not left the stone. Bob Decker is the senior official. He's standing by with Colleen for an explanation.
Bob Decker, it was a very close call. Any doubt in your mind?
Not at all, Colleen.
Now, isn't the benefit of the doubt supposed to go to the curler? I mean, isn't supposed to be like, you know, a good foot over, as Russ was saying, you know, he hasn't been called this week.
Yes, he hasn't been called all week. He's been consistently close, and the curlers that are consistently close really put themselves in a difficult situation because as the pressure rises, the tension of the moment, they drive that a little bit harder, and they stand a good chance of fouling.
So the problem wasn't with the double release. It was clearly a hog line violation as far as you're concerned.
Yes, it is, Colleen. The rock was definitely not clearly released before it reached the hog line.
All right, well, it'll be a shame if that comes into play at the end of the game, but thank you very much, Bob.
Thank you, Colleen.
5-2 playing this 7th end. Ontario leads. Howard had released the rock once, but then grabbed it again, and that's where the hog line violation undoubtedly occurred.
Well, they'll be talking about that for a while. I know, but when he was down at the other end, after it had been kicked off and they decided it was only 1, he said to Kevin Martin, God, I had it in the outturn position coming out. I had to get it, and that's what happened. He tried to finger the rock back into position so that he released it correctly. And in that process, the rock came very close to the line. I mean, as you say, our cameras are at a different angle, so it's very difficult for us to see. The officials are sitting right on the line. But the fact that he kind of released it and then grabbed it again and released it again, obviously he didn't get it released before the hog line.
But Glenn Howard, the Ontario third, quickly jumped in and he said, if that's the call, that's the call, let's live with it. He didn't want that call to upset his brother Russ or the other members of the Ontario champions, and it certainly doesn't appear as though it has, as Glenn Howard removes what Kevin Martin had hoped would be a corner guard, and the shooter rolls over into the 12-foot on the other side of the center line.
Well, the interesting thing is, through this whole conversation, in the background, you heard Glenn say, don't worry about it, Russ. This game is over anyway.
Yes.
Now, that's confidence.
Well, that's the fortunate thing, I guess, in this scenario, is that, they've got a 3-point lead. If it were a 2-2 game and a hog line violation that was that close.
Imagine being 1 down and doing that. Right? That's terrible. Anyway.
Well, the curling gremlins are active here at the Agridome. Yesterday, Petrick slipping and falling, burning a rock that could have been decisive in the game against Manitoba. And the hogline call here against Russ Howard.
We also saw it at the Scott Tournament of Hearts. Connie Laliberty was in a game against Team Canada during the round robin, and, you know, a hogline violation there cost Manitoba the game.
But it didn't cost Manitoba the championship, as Connie Laliberty went on to win the Scott Tournament of Hearts and will be the female representative at the World Curling Championships coming up in Garmisch from the 28th of March to April the 5th. Russ Howard trying to get into position to battle Vic Peters for the right to represent the men's side in the World Championship.
Of course, Kevin Martin trying to get back in this game, although shot rock belongs to Ontario on the far right-hand side in the 12-foot. Martin's trying to get a nose hit out of Ontario so he can bury a rock somewhere behind cover. And that's not happening. Ontario doing a great job of peeling everything.
One stone in the rings. That's the red-handled Ontario rock that Kevin Martin wants his third, Kevin Park, to draw behind.
Well, that's how precise this game is, and how good these two teams are, Don, is the fact that they're drawing a rock around a rock that's on the top of the 12-foot, and there's maybe 2.5, 3 feet of space there to draw around. So you have to be very, very precise here. But when you're in this competition, that's the shot you have to make to get your team back in.
Clean it. Clean it. Plenty of weight. Clean it. A little heavy. Again, here we come off. Hurt. Hurt. Lots of weight. Quick. Whoa. Weight's good.
So they have to get it by.
Quick.
Oh. Well, they didn't sweep it, Don, because it looked like it might have been a little bit heavy. As it turns out, it wasn't, because it stopped full in the 12-foot. That's a bad rub, because now it's wide open.
I don't know.
You hear Kevin Martin saying to Kevin Park, I wouldn't have been through, would I?
I don't think that would have got through, because you just
barely.
Well, still to come on CBC Sports Weekend, World Cup downhill skiing. Franz Heinzer leads the men at Aspen, Colorado, while a welcoming committee at Panorama, BC awaits Canada's golden girl, Karen Lee Gartner, the final World Cup downhills of the season. And from the Agridome in Regina, we are down to skip stones on the 7th end of this Labatt Brier semifinal with Ontario's Russ Howard, the 1987 Canadian and world champion, leading defending Canadian champion Kevin Martin of Alberta 5-2.
Nice to roll a bit, too.
And playing the out turn as opposed to going into the rock, he's playing from the outside in because he knows it runs very straight down there. He wants to get a little bit of a roll. He doesn't want to leave it there where Martin can freeze to it. Oh, that's a great shot.
Ontario now lies 2. As we said, the winner will play Vic Peters of Manitoba for the Labatt Brier Championship, and there he is watching this semifinal game. He and his Manitoba champions will be on the Agridome ice following the conclusion of this game for about an hour of practice to get ready for tomorrow's championship.
And what a great week he's had. They just played super. Very aggressive, went around everything. He made the big shots when he had to. He just had a super week.
And it was lucky for them that they kind of came in as the underdogs, too. I mean, everybody was looking at Ontario and Alberta and perhaps Al Hackner as the favorites, and Jim Armstrong, too, from British Columbia. So Peters was able to kind of, at the beginning, get away from the glare of the media.
A lot of room. Plenty of weight.
Martin trying to freeze. This is the only way you can score 2 points, is if you freeze to that one, hoping the other team drives it on to the one at the back, and that way you score 2, or a guard. Hoping the other team hits it on the nose, you can draw around for protection. Pretty good shot.
It forces Russ Howard to make a pass at that stone, and as you said, there's always the danger that he could push it back onto his own.
Perfect.
But the nice thing for Russ Howard, he can hit this rock right on the nose, Don, be lying 2, and force Alberta to take one in the 7th end.
Yeah, maybe a
and
little
still
firmer.
really controls the game. The other big factor, of course, is he's throwing the out turn down there just with his first one, so he knows how it's going to run. It'll run fairly straight. He can hit it on the nose, on the outside. The only thing he cannot afford to do is, of course, come across it and drive it onto the back.
Well, you know, you referred to that double clutch that resulted in the hog line violation against Russ Howard a couple of years ago in the Ontario Playdowns. He had a somewhat similar situation where, as he came out of the hack, he felt there was something underneath the stone, and he reached back and grabbed the rock again and jiggled it a little to try and release the debris underneath the stone, and it was very close to a hog line violation there. Fine shot by Howard. He lies too.
That's right, he's good at that, you know, and curlers with the feel of the curling rock and the ice and the sliding surface can feel anything under their rock. I know a lot of times it's happened to me, you know, you get ready in the hack and you move the rock up and down just to make sure it's running smoothly. There's no straw or hair underneath it.
Russ was joking last night about how when he first started curling, you couldn't even slide over the hog line. His front end, of course, who are about 22 or 23 years old, marveled at those days. Probably didn't even know those days existed, but... the thing is, all the curlers are, you know, fairly close to the hog line when they release, and they've got their deliveries perfected so that they release the stone about the same spot every time they throw a draw.
There you go.
The final stone of the seventh end as Kevin Martin draws the 4-foot. So after 7 ends of play, 2 points separate these semifinalists. Ontario's Russ Howard leading Kevin Martin of Alberta by a score of 5-3. Now to Sports Weekend Control, and here again is Brian.
All right, Don, busy afternoon in the NHL. One final. Philadelphia has defeated Washington 3-1. Brown, Acton, and Dineen. Mike Ridley for the Caps. Second period in Minnesota. Shane Churla has scored for the North Stars. Second period on Long Island. Marois and Turgeon for the Islanders over Buffalo. The Acadia Axemen have defeated Laurier by a score of 5-2 in the first semifinal. The winner meeting the winner between Trois-Rivières and Alberta. That game will start shortly. And in baseball, Pittsburgh now out in front of Toronto. 3-2. Ken Daly pitching in the 6th inning. Back to curling right after this.
3M salutes the Olympics. They enshrined ideals of sportsmanship, friendship, and fair play. Ideals nurtured by Canada's coaches. They teach our children lessons that go beyond athletics. Lessons about dedication, perseverance, sportsmanship that will stay with them for life. 3M salutes Canada's coaches and pledges its continued support so the ideals will live on. 3M, innovation working for you.
You can make La Dry beer in the comfort of your own home. All you need is La Rare aromatic hops, La Choice Canadian barley, La Cold clear water, and a few other fine ingredients. You brew it longer than Labatt's regular beer for a clean, dry taste. Oh, that's right. You need La 15,000-gallon kettle. Nah, maybe you better let Labatt make La Beer dry.
On June 23, 1991, Mazda defeated Jaguar, Porsche, and Mercedes to win the world's most prestigious 24-hour endurance race, Le Mans. But Le Mans wasn't won in a day. It took years of tireless research, innovation, and commitment. It's the way we build racing cars. But more importantly, it's the way we build every Mazda.
Yeah, sure. I understand. Thanks anyways. Bye. Hi, I'm calling about your ad in the paper. Yes, I could start right away. No, I don't have a high school diploma. I understand. Thanks anyways. Bye.
Dropping out is no way out. Get our new leaflet on career choices. Call 1-800-661-2525.
Russ Howard moving ever closer to grasping that Labatt Brier tankard once again, leading by a score of 5-3 with 3 ends remaining in this semifinal game here at the Agridome in Regina. Great shot making on the 6th end, and a bit of controversy as well with that final stone delivery by Russ Howard with the rock removed for a hogline violation. It's difficult for the officials. Our camera angles are not right on the hog line, so they are a little different than the view the official has. And it could be that the official who made the call had a portion of his view obstructed by the two sweepers.
Well, that can always happen. It's unfortunate it happens in a big game like this, and especially, you know, if Russ scores 3 there or 2, he goes up 4 or 5 points. Big difference in the game. As it is, he's controlling it. He's 2 up, but if Martin was to score 1 here, steal 1 in the 9th, boy, it sure makes that rock look very big. And, you know, it takes a couple of ends to get over because you know you've absolutely got control of the game. You go 4 up. There's no way that Martin's going to beat you, you feel. So you got to kind of shake it off.
There's a psychological effect, too. I know I've had a few rocks pulled on me, and you start thinking about it every time you throw a draw, you know, are they going to pull it just because I'm close? That sort of thought goes through your head a lot.
Well, psychologically, it didn't appear to have any effect on the Howard rink through end number 7. And I think part of that is attributable to the fact that Glenn Howard very quickly said, let's forget about it. It's done. It's over. Let's get on with the game.
It's part of the new attitude, Howard. Russ and Glenn talk about that they're very positive now. You know, he said that they used to be a stage back in '89 that they'd be very negative about. If something like that happened, you know, they'd get down quite quickly. But now they stay up all the time.
After winning $100,000 will do that to you in the course of the year.
Puts a smile on your face, doesn't it?
No kidding. Yeah, there's nothing that's happened on a curling sheet of ice that these two teams haven't seen.
And, of course, Russ Howard is participating in his 6th Brier as a skip. He first appeared in 1980, had a 5-win, 6-loss record. In 1986, 10 wins, 3 losses. He was runner-up to Ed Lukowicz. In 1987, with a 10-2 record, he won it all. Went on to the World Championship. In 1989, an 8-4 record. And last year in Hamilton, where many people expected him to do so well, he had a 6-5 one-loss record and didn't make the playoffs.
Now, here's a scenario for you. Kevin Martin, who is 2 down, does not have last rock, is throwing up corner guards.
2 feet more.
And what he's hoping for, any kind of a break from the Ontario team, either an outright miss or a hit on the nose, and he'll go around that corner guard. Now, a lot of people say, well, that's crazy. You don't have last rock. Why are you playing corner guard? But Kevin Martin, that's the type of game he skips. He doesn't care where you are on the ice or who's got last rock. He's going to try and steal some points and make you make tough shots. You know, and conversely, you might think, well, Howard really put him away here, go around that corner guard, because he has the advantage of last rock, but he feels he has enough points. And there was a chance there, Don, that he just touched that rock. He could put it in the rings, the one on the left-hand side, and he just missed it. He might want to put, as I said, Martin away, score 2 this end, but he's playing very, very conservative.
Hey? Oh, sure. I'll leave him on the corner. Like playing games, I guess. To make it easier for one of us. I don't know. Just a habit. I push them all back in the corner. You ice makers, eh? Yeah, I got to be just right, eh? All
That's
well,
right.
Even though they're in a pressure situation, they can still kibitz and
sure, have a little bit of fun. See, a lot of people, a lot of curlers are superstitious. You put the red rocks on one side and the yellow ones on the other side. And if you ever break up that rhythm, sometimes they get a little upset. And like you heard Kevin Martin say, it's a habit with me. I've always done it. And Howard said, you ice makers, you're all the same. Martin likes them on one side in the corner, and Howard likes them on the other.
Well, Kevin Martin was the ice maker at the Avonare Curling Club, but he now is in the curling supply business. Alberta lies 1.
Look, you put him in the ring.
Howard and Martin still joking as they discuss the rocks that are out of play. Back of the house.
Howard said, why did you put him in the rings for me, Kevin? And a little bit of a chance here for Ontario, you know, they could draw it out of that one and score 2 in this end because that rock is well behind the tee line and a corner guard, and if it doesn't work out for Howard, he's got the whole house to draw to. But they feel very comfortable. They're just going to run everything. Oh, yeah, that's... Parks better get that one out or that could be a problem for them. Changes the whole complexion of the end. Now, this is a big gamble. Big gamble for Martin here, Don. He's ignoring that one at the back, which, with Ontario having last rock, could be 2 points.
Hair off the line. I'll give you.
He's going around that one.
So I keep pulling him out. So finally he realized that I didn't want him in the corner, so we pulled him out, and he came back and tripped him.
Yeah, you got to stay loose.
Well, you know, it's interesting. Yesterday, both rinks spent a lot of time after round-robin play had been completed prior to their last practice session, going over rocks from every sheet and selecting the rocks they wanted to use for this game.
Well, Larry Berkeley, the coach, and fifth on Ontario's team, Don, he had a book of every rock on every sheet of ice in this year's Brier. And he picks the ones out that Russ likes. Russ took 2 yellow ones from sheet 4 and from the 2 red ones from the sheet that he's playing on now. And I said to Berkeley, how do you know? He says, Russ knows. He knows that he glide better. Look at this shot.
Same thing for Alberta. Their 5th man, Jules Ocharts, you know, looks at the rocks, he charts the rocks, and knows exactly which rocks the player should be throwing.
Boy, what a great shot that was by Martin.
Yeah, I think so.
If he's about 1.5 feet deeper, it doesn't give Howard the opportunity to run that one back onto it.
I hit it pretty thin, eh? Yeah, a little less than half. Oh, do you want that? Whatever. Let's go this way. Okay. Normal? Yeah. Are you normal? You were normal? Yeah.
What's he saying? Were you normal? Did you throw it normal? Did it react? How did it react throwing normal?
I think so. What was mine? I got to kind of duplicate his weight. He was pretty close to normal.
Well, there's one thing about it. If Howard pulls on his own, he may roll into the rings and be shot rock. Of course, Alberta would hit it on the nose to lie 2. This is a very pivotal shot here. This is a big gamble by Alberta going in around this corner. Because he could give up 2 and be right out of the game altogether. Boy, look at this rock go. Oh, that's a beautiful shot. I'll tell you, he's hot today. He's going to be tough to beat.
Well, you know, you look back in this game. In the 6th end, Kevin Martin gambled. His 3rd, Kevin Park, made 2 great shots, but then Glenn Howard made 2 equally as brilliant shots. Kevin Martin came through with a great shot, and Russ Howard, with his first stone, made that double to lie 2.
That's right. He's making everything. It's very difficult for Kevin Martin to get back in this game. No matter what he does, no matter where he puts the rock, Russ Howard can pick it out of there, and so is Glenn. So it's been a very, very tough evening for him. Here's another thing. Martin's going to try and freeze to this rock. Maybe just move it back 2 inches to be shot rock. I mean, he's really grasping for straws. He's 2 down. He doesn't have last rock. He knows that he's going to have to steal his way to win this game. I mean, it could be all over right here.
At this level, you have to have every shot in your repertoire.
Yep.
And Kevin Martin right now is trying to freeze to that shot stone.
Stay close.
You watch how close he is to this freeze. Look at this. Keep the lights on, please. This is unbelievable. I mean, that rock is flush against the Ontario team. Look at Russ. He's looking at it, and it's hard to tell who's shot here. There's, you see the little dark hole in the center. That's the center hole where they're going to put the measuring stick. And they're looking to see who is shot. Glenn thinks it's Alberta. Now, there's a separation about 2 inches, if that.
Tough shot.
You see, and how it's frozen, Don? It's frozen on the high side. So you can't pick it out. You can't hit it thin. You've got to hit it on the outside. And I don't know whether he can get it out of there.
I can make 2 this way, too, I guess. Yeah, I like the high side. I do, too. Okay.
See what he's saying? The high side. That's the right-hand side as you're looking at it.
Right there.
There you see it.
Yeah, I know.
Well, the pressure was clearly on the shoulders of Kevin Martin with his final stone of this 8th end. Had he not been able to freeze down to that shot rock, it was all over. But he made the shot and now has the pressure on Russ Howard, because if Howard can't remove this stone, it's a 1-point match with still 2 ends.
Different game. And I don't know whether he can pick it out of there. He's got to hit, maybe a quarter of a rock, and hope that that one, yellow one belonging to Alberta, squirts away over. He's got to push it all the way across the rings, Don. So this is a tough shot.
Very hard pick out.
Oh, no. Come on.
What a shot by Russ Howard.
Oh, no kidding.
He chips it out. He only had about 6 inches between that stone and his own at the back, and he removes it to pick up a pair and take a 4-point lead with 2 ends remaining.
Oh, that's an unbelievable curling shot, let me tell you. Look at this, Don. He has to hit it. He absolutely picks it out by a quarter of an inch. Look at this. He just picks it, just moves his back one, and look at that rock go out of there. That's an unbelievable curling shot. 93 feet from the time he released it to the time he made contact with that rock, he is dealing with 1/4 to an inch of curling rock.
Just another example of the tremendous shot making we have been witness to this afternoon in this Labatt Brier semifinal.
Is he there, please? Yes, this is David Watson, W-A-T-S-O-N, 555-1167. It's very important. So, ladies, can I buy you a beverage? Excuse me. Watson. Brunette? Yeah, it's for you.
Hello? Oh, hi.
Can we buy you a blue?
A blue? Sure. No, we'd rather come down there.
Great.
Thank you.
Labatt's blue. Now you're laughing.
With sweeping lines that soothe the senses, dual airbags that make more than sense, and innovations like using the sun to cool the interior. What else could we have called this car? The new 929 Surrender from Mazda.
If you hold on a second, you'll see the latest improvement to Roundup herbicide. It's now only $10.95 a liter. Nice work.
Until now, your emerging wheat or barley got a rough ride from in-crop wild oat and green foxtail herbicides. But unlike any post-emergent before, New Achieve single-handedly knocks out grass weeds without going against the grain. Achieve smokes wild oat when they're between 1 to 6 leaves, while all spring wheat, all barley develops safely. This season, choose New Achieve, the grass weed control that doesn't go against the grain.
The Mongolian food experience in St. Albert.
Russ Howard already has his name on the Labatt Brier tankard, and he's a step closer to doing it again at the Agridome in Regina. Ontario leads Alberta 7-3, playing the 9th end. You know, psychologically, some may have thought the hogline call against Russ Howard in the 6th end may have been unsettling. If anything, it seems to have inspired him.
There is no question about that. He was visibly upset about it, and he told the official he wanted to see the replay, but no way. And it has really fired him up, and his front end have said that.
And listening to Glenn Howard, too, during that commercial break, he was saying, you know, it took that hog line call to fire him up, but he's ready now. And certainly Russ Howard's putting on a clinic in shot making. I know the Manitoba team, who will face the winner of this game tomorrow, is sitting behind me. And I'll tell you, they've got to be a little nervous watching the way Russ Howard and his team are playing, because they've been flawless.
Well, you know, Don, you and Colleen can both appreciate that last shot by Russ Howard. What a difference. I mean, he had to pick that one out so precisely. It could have been a 5-4 game rather than 7-3.
Oh, that's just a horrendous shot, change in shots, Donnie. I mean, when you go down there and you know that there's 2 inches of separation between your rock that's behind the tee line and the rock that Martin throws there. Now you're going down. If you jam it, there's no way they're going to score 1. You have to pick exactly 1 inch of that rock. That's the maximum. And you might lose the back when you end up only getting 1. But you certainly don't want the other team to get 1. He goes down and he throws it. And he just, when he made contact with the Alberta rock, the rock that he made contact with just touched his own at the back. So that's how precise he was.
And Kevin Martin's really got to be shaking his head because you really couldn't have played that freeze much better than what he played it. And even a lot of the shots Martin made throughout the game had been beautiful curling shots. And then Howard's just that 1 step ahead of him.
You know now why they won $100,000 on the cash tour and are in this semifinal, just shot making like that.
Well, the Alberta rink has curled 81% today. Unfortunately for Kevin Martin's rink, Ontario is at 84%.
I hope Barry Fry's watching this game.
You know, we mentioned Barry Fry's name. He is representing Manitoba in the Canadian Seniors Championship, getting underway today in Nipawin. He was the last rink to win the Brier prior to the playoff format being introduced in 1980. He won the round-robin competition in Ottawa, and Ottawa next year will host the 1993 Labatt Brier.
Well, interestingly, since 1981, you know, it's been Manitoba and an Ontario team, either Northern or regular Ontario, and Alberta that have won the Briers. And here again at this year's Brier, we have those same 3 teams in the hunt, you know, that have been... So the other provinces have to pull up their socks a bit.
Well, you know, it's interesting. At the Scott Tournament of Hearts in Halifax, Connie Laliberti was saying that the difference between 1984, when she won the Canadian Women's Championship, and this year is that every rink was competitive and felt they could win. And talking to both Russ Howard and Kevin Martin, they didn't think the same applied in Regina. They felt that some of the provincial champions here were just happy to be at the Brier. They felt there were maybe only half a dozen that were true contenders for the 1992 championship, and the feeling was that the 3 best rinks during the week were definitely in the playoffs.
I would agree with that. I don't know about weak teams. I just think maybe there was a lot of games for the Atlantic provinces that were decided by last rock or extra ends, and I mean, that's a big swing. I mean, 6 wins and 5 losses is maybe 1 rock to being 7-4 and 8-3. I thought it was a very even competition. I was a little disappointed in Al Hackner and Jimmy Armstrong, because I thought they would do better, especially Hackner with Larry Pignou playing third. Like, he's an excellent shot maker. I was really disappointed in their final finish.
Of course, Al Hackner this year established a Brier record for most wins. He went past Ernie Richardson for total wins in Brier competition. But Russ Howard does have a shot at perhaps moving past Al Hackner.
Off. Right off. Oh, big shot.
Well, I think more than overall victories, they care about the big Brier victory the most.
Oh, certainly. I mean, when you stand on the podium and they give you the Canadian Championship, boy, that's a thrill of a lifetime.
Al Hackner, 51 Brier wins. If Russ Howard wins this will be his 48th. But when you take a look at what Ernie Richardson accomplished in his 5 Brier appearances, he won 45 games, but he only lost 7.
That's true. No greater team than the Ernie Richardson team.
Well, it's like comparing Gordie Howe and Wayne Gretzky, 2 different times and...
That's true.
Different
Very
games.
true. A very clear house, front end, and Glenn Howard doing a great job of running everything that Alberta put out in front. Here's Kevin Martin's draw, just stopping in the back of the 12-foot.
What a year for this Alberta rink, you know, regardless of the outcome of this this game, to repeat as Alberta champs is quite a feat, and even have a run at winning back-to-back Brier titles. And playing in the World Championship last spring and the Olympic Games.
Well, they're a solid team, and Kevin Martin will be back because he loves the game of curling, throws a lot of rocks, and he's a great contribution to the game of curling. I really enjoy him. He's outspoken at times, but let me tell you, he's always got the game of curling at best interest.
Russ Howard looking to remove that Alberta stone at the back. He'd like to save his shooter as well, which he does.
Kevin Martin's not. He's already down at the other end of the hacked on, and I think he's resigned himself that this is...
that his reign is about to end?
Yes, I think so.
Might be handshake time.
Kevin Martin.
That's good, Russ.
With a final stone draw, you heard him say, that's good. He is just throwing this final stone of the ninth end, but he is going to shake hands, succeeding after 9 ends, and it will go into the books as a 7-4 win. Ontario's Russ Howard over Kevin Martin of Alberta in the Labatt Brier semifinal. So the reign of Kevin Martin, Kevin Park, Dan Petrick, Don Bartlett, and fifth man Jules Ochar comes to an end here at the Agridome in Regina. And Russ Howard will now go on to face Manitoba's Dick Peters for the 1992 Canadian Men's Curling Championship here at the Agridome. And of course, we will have live coverage of that game for you. A tremendous display of shot making by both sides, particularly the victors, Russ Howard and his Ontario champions. We'll be back right after this.
The Automobile Journalists of Canada took 3 months to test the finalists, but just a few seconds to choose the winner. The Mazda RX-7, voted Best New Performance Car of 1992.
What is refreshing?
Labatt's Light takes a refreshing look at the block party. There are large block parties. And then there are small block parties. But what's a block party without a party animal? Then there's the taste of a Labatt's Light. Right out of the ice. Now that's refreshing.
Sporty car of 1992.
That's a good, clean start.
Excellent jump. Philippe's done it again. This is what he is known for.
Good choice.
At the Agridome in Regina, Russ Howard of Ontario defeating defending champion Kevin Martin of Alberta 7-4 in the Labatt Brier semifinal. And still to come today on CBC Sports Weekend, World Cup downhill skiing. Franz Heinzer leads the men at Aspen, Colorado, while a welcoming committee at Panorama, BC awaits Canada's Golden Girl, Karen Lee Gardner, the final World Cup downhills of the season. And downhill to ice level. Here's Colleen with the semifinal champion, Russ Howard.
Thank you, Don. Russ Howard, did you wake up this morning knowing you were going to put on a clinic? You made some amazing shots today.
Thanks, Colleen. It was we curl well all year, and I woke up this morning knowing I've got 3 great players in front of me, and that's a nice thing to wake up to. And
We curl really well. We knew we had to. Kevin's the defending champion. He's played well all year, and it was a good game.
The 3 in the 4th put you in control, but you really liked that shot in the 8th then when you made that great pick out, because that gave you the 3-point cushion as opposed to if you had jammed there, making it a 1-point game.
Well, we nearly get the deuce with the hog line violation, and it kind of, you know, maybe a bit of momentum. Alberta was in real trouble, and all of a sudden they got a chance. And in the 8th end, we've got a good chance at 2 or 3, and he welds one on there just perfect. He had the angle, he had everything. He shot rock. It was just a great shot, and we managed to turn it into a deuce, and that was the game.
Let's talk about the hog line violation in the 6th end. What did you think?
Well, you always think you're not over because you're cheering for, you're a little biased, but we didn't think we were over. I'm sure it wasn't, but the maddening thing was they hadn't called a hog line all week, and I think it's kind of a little bit bush league that they would call one in a game that big, but if I'm over, I'm over, and I guess that's the rule.
Well, it was the double clutch what perhaps fooled the hog line officials.
I had a rock, there was something under the rock as I went to slide out, and about the front 12-foot, all of a sudden I'm throwing an out turn because the rock's going the other way, and I had the presence of mind to give it a little shove, and I think, like you said, I gave him a little head fake, and they thought I was over.
But then your brother Glenn said, we heard him on the wireless mic saying that seemed to fire you up.
Oh, the game was never in doubt after that. Glenn and I have been like that all our lives, and you don't like to get mad all the time because it's a great sport, but it certainly got us up for the rest of the game, and it sure didn't hurt us.
Let's talk about Manitoba tomorrow. That should be an interesting game. It's for all the marbles.
Yeah, if we win today, if we lose tomorrow, it doesn't do us a lot of good. So Manitoba's going to be very tough. They're the best team here in the round robin, and they beat us. So we've got to be tough, and we don't have the hammer, which hurts. So we've got to play as well as we did today.
Do you feel you had an advantage playing today, though, now that you've won it?
Yeah, now that we won it, I do. You can't say that to Kevin, but yeah, that's right. We feel really good, and Manitoba's had to sit around for a while. Sometimes that hurts, sometimes it helps.
All right, Russ Howard, skip of Ontario, moving on to the final tomorrow of the Labatt Brier. Don?
And in that final tomorrow, Russ Howard will face this man, Vic Peters. Vic, what were your thoughts watching that semifinal?
Well, I knew it was going to be a real tough battle, and they're both great teams, so I expected the kind of shots we saw.
In that 6th end, some tremendous shot making by the thirds and the skips.
Oh, for sure. Those 4 guys are, probably the greatest players in their positions for a long time, so that's the kind of thing you expect when those guys hook up.
Russ Howard mentioned that he does not have lost rock advantage, that belongs to you because of the first-place finish. Is that an advantage?
Oh, definitely it's an advantage. Hopefully we'll be able to utilize it, and against a team like that, you've got to try to get a lead.
What type of game do you look for?
I look for an aggressive game similar to this. This last game we just saw, because they can hit with anybody. There's no point in us just going out and trying to hit for 10 ends because we'll probably lose. So we have to be aggressive like we've been all week, and hopefully things will go our way.
Did they curl as well today or better than in the round-robin match against Manitoba?
They probably curled a little better in this game. There was a few misses against us that allowed us to get a little jump on them in the other game, and this is the way I look for them to play tomorrow.
Well, Vic, I know you're anxious to head out to the practice ice. Good luck in the championship game tomorrow.
Thank you very much, guys.
Vic Peters, who is the Manitoba champion and the Labatt Brier finalist as the result of his first-place finish against Russ Howard in tomorrow's game. What type of game do you look for?
Well, I look for a very aggressive game, and I think you have to play that way against Russ Howard. I mean, he shot lights out here today, Donnie. Nobody was going to beat him today, and Vic Peters may be thankful that he's playing him in the final and not the semifinal, because no matter what the Alberta tried, he rose to the occasion. He made some great, fantastic shots.
Well, you heard Russ Howard say that now that he's won the semifinal game, he's glad he was on the ice this afternoon.
Well, that's right. It's always nice when you win, and you like to keep curling, but to me, he's just starting to hit his stride. Like, he was a little bit weak during the center part of the round robin. Towards the end, he got strong. This game here, he's just unbelievable. And when him and Glenn are playing, there's nobody better. I mean, they just make everything. No matter where you put the rock, they make the shots.
Well, they made all the shots today in disposing of the defending champion, Kevin Martin of Alberta, by a score of 7-4. So with that 7-4 win, Russ Howard moves on to the Labatt Brier final tomorrow, and he'll face Vic Peters of Manitoba for the 1992 championship.
You can make a lot of dry beer in the comfort of your own home. All you need is a lot of rare aromatic hops, a lot of choice Canadian barley, a lot of cold, clear water, and a few other fine ingredients. You brew it longer than Labatt's regular beer for a clean, dry taste. Oh, that's right. You need a 15,000-gallon kettle. Nah, maybe you better let Labatt make La Beer dry.
with sweeping lines that soothe the senses, dual airbags that make more than sense, and innovations like using the sun to cool the interior. What else could we have called this car? The new 929 Surrender from Mazda.
Priority Courier, I have a pickup.
Call Priority Courier for overnight delivery, and you're dealing with Canada's largest courier network. You've got the whole country covered. Evenings and weekends, too. Priority Courier gets it there overnight, guaranteed. Because your priorities are ours.
Penalty? What for? Now they pull the goalie. Oh no, he's got a breakaway. He hit the post. Nice pass. There he goes. He shoots. He scores.
Which fan would you rather be? Well, with Sports Select, you get more action, more excitement, more fun out of your sport. Get in the game with Sports Select.
I needed that goal.
Over Under and Proline. 2 great games from Sports Select. Get in the game.
For spring wheat, only one product does it all. Triumph Plus. In one pass, it controls wild oats and green foxtail with the widest window of application. From the 1 to 6 leaf stage, up to emergence of the 3rd tiller. Plus over 30 broadleaf weeds. Ask your neighbors who've used it. The results have been overwhelming. Triumph Plus from Hearst. Wow.
Still ahead today, it's all downhill in Aspen. Franz Heinzer leads the way, with Olympic gold medalist Patrick Ortley close behind. The final men's World Cup downhill of the season. At Panorama, the women jump into the spotlight. Karen Lee Gartner is coming off a second at Vail, looking to move up. Well, Katja Zeisinger tries for 2 in a row. Doubling up on downhill. From Aspen and Panorama, coming up.
The 1992 Labatt Brier has determined the finalists. Ontario's Russ Howard, the 1987 champion, against Manitoba's Vic Peters, the leader during round-robin competition. Kevin Martin, the defending champion, knows what it's like to hoist that Labatt Brier tankard high. Unfortunately, it won't happen for a second straight year. Colleen?
Kevin Martin giving up the 3 in the 4th end. Would you like to replay the 4th?
Oh, I think we could probably stand to do that. You can't afford to leave the rocks laying around and splash and all those kinds of things. And we had, even if we make the roll, he probably makes a straight back for at least 2 anyway. So we were in big trouble, and that was the end where Russ beat us.
Howard really put on a clinic, but in the 8th end, you made that spectacular freeze. He comes down and picks you out, making another pistol. But if he had jammed there, you would have been right back in the game.
Actually, the pick, I actually thought he was going to make that for at least 1. But the shot that he made that I couldn't believe he made was in 6, where the out turned through the hole thin double. Just an incredible shot, and you got to give Russ credit. He made every shot he had to today, maybe even every shot, I'm not sure. And we had him going in the first 3 ends, and if we could have got one up on him in the first 3 ends, we went after him pretty good. And it would have been a different game, but he just stuck with it and ended up coming out in front.
That 6th end, there were 6 great shots through that port there. And then his last rock called on the hog line. Now, you thought he was clearly over?
Myself, yeah. After I went a little deep on my draw, I thought that he'd just draw for 2 and the game would be over, virtually. And so I walked down the other hog line and just kind of waited for him to shoot. And I thought he was over by quite a bit, so I wasn't too surprised. And I don't think he was actually too upset because he had to double clutch it because he picked up something. And when you double clutch, you're usually fairly close anyways. When you double clutch, you're usually over, and I think he was. And I don't think Russ is too upset about it.
All right, Kevin Martin, all in all, despite this game, a great season for you. Thank you very much for talking to us.
Thank you.
Back to you, Don.
Well, Colleen, one consolation Kevin Martin does have. He didn't lose the semifinal. Russ Howard won it.
Yeah, no question about it. No matter where they put the rocks, Russ Howard came up with the big shots, and so did Glenn. I mean, it was just a tough afternoon, and I think for Alberta to win this, they might have had to stay here till Monday.
There were a number of outstanding shots, but as you heard Kevin Martin say, perhaps the best shot of the entire afternoon was Russ Howard, with his first stone of the sixth end, he had to come with the outturn through that narrow hole. He could skin both rocks out front, and he caught a corner of the yellow Alberta stone, rolled over to make the double. And despite the fact that he had his final stone pulled on that sixth end because of the hogline violation, that shot by Russ Howard was a key.
Well, no question about it. And there was about 5 good shots in a row there, Don. And I didn't think it was possible to go through there because everybody was playing the in-turn on the other side. And he went down to throw the out-turn. I thought, boy, this is going to be tight. He's got to worry about one guard and hope it doesn't curl enough. He made just a fantastic shot, Don, and he had to hit it thin, and that's exactly what he did.
Well, forget the free guard zone and all the other modifications that some people want for curling. When you have ice such as this and you have 2 rinks such as Russ Howard and Kevin Martin battling as they did today, you won't see better curling.
No, that's right. And, you know, right at the top of the show, we said, look, if you had to have 2 teams put on a show, these are the 2 teams you would pick, and that's exactly the way it turned out. Unfortunately, it was a bad day for Alberta and a great day for Ontario.
Hopefully, we'll get more of the same tomorrow when Russ Howard and his Ontario rink go up against Vic Peters of Manitoba for the 1992 Labatt Brier Championship.
The Automobile Journalists of Canada took 3 months to test the finalists, but just a few seconds to choose the winner. The Mazda RX-7, voted Best New Performance Car of 1992.
Listen, I left my keys inside. Can I go get them? I leave my wallet?
Hustle.
Thanks. My girlfriend left her keys. Can I run give them to her?
Go.
Thanks. Thanks. Thanks.
Labatt's blue.
Hey! Any trouble getting in?
Now you're laughing.
It's the people at Bank of Montreal. They know what you need, and they're there to help you.
We like to go into the front yard, put down a blanket, and look at the house and draw pictures of how we see our house once we finish the renovations.
I just feel it's important for him as he grows up to know how to manage his money.
You hope that the children will be educated and have a better life.
Just being able to afford a future with the way things are these days.
Bank of Montreal. We're paying attention. It's people dealing with people.
For all those people who want a roll of bathroom tissue to last longer, there's new Purex Jumbo. With 50% more pillowy soft sheets on every roll, it takes forever to run out. Whoa.
Today, Pepsi announced a new slogan. Mere words? Or is the taste of Pepsi so big, America's really got to have it?
Gotta have it. It's something I felt for years, but never had the words to express.
If it's so popular, how come everybody's drinking it?
Henry's only regret is that he started drinking Pepsi this late in life.
The phrase, gotta have it, strikes a chord deep in the human psyche.
Now that everybody's gotta have it, Pepsi's not gonna need celebrity endorsers anymore.
And that's what I've been saying all along.
At Mazda, we believe a car should just feel right. So do the Automobile Journalists of Canada. The MX-3 Presidia, voted Best New Sporty Car of 1992.
The Labatt Brier on Sports Weekend. Brought to you by Labatt's Blue and Labatt's Light. And by Mazda. It just feels right.
Well, if you're a curling enthusiast, you'll want to join us tomorrow at 12:30 Eastern Time for the Labatt Brier Final, Russ Howard of Ontario against Vic Peters of Manitoba. Right now, let's join Colleen Jones.
You know, Don, curlers always say that if they could win that semifinal game, if there was any way they were guaranteed it, they'd love to play it because it gets them used to the pressure situation and prepare them better for the final. They're playing on the exact same sheet tomorrow. Manitoba's got the advantage of less rock. They're going to, of course, be looking for that early jump. Russ Howard's got the advantage of experience. Vic Peters never been in the Canadian final before. Howard knows exactly what he's up against. You're right, it should be another great game. Don?
All right, Colleen and Don, how much of an advantage will experience be for Russ Howard?
Well, I think it'll be a big advantage. The one thing in Manitoba's favor is the fact that they have last rock, and they can do to Ontario what Ontario did to Alberta today.
6-4 was the score in round-robin play, Manitoba over Ontario. Is that a factor at all?
Well, it really is. I think they know how he throws now, and I know Vic feels that he's going to have to play the game of his life to beat Russ Howard, and that's the way it should be.
Well, he saw some tremendous shot-making today by both Russ Howard and Kevin Martin and their rinks, and he'll hopefully be up to the task tomorrow in the Labatt-Brier final. Now, let's return to Brian Williams, Sports Weekend Control in Toronto.
All right, the Don's not too good.